You live inside your nervous system's version of life. You do not experience life exactly as it is. You experience life through the condition of your nervous system. Before your mind calls something safe, rude, painful, peaceful, embarrassing, or threatening, your body has already reacted to it. Your heartbeat, breathing, tension, memory, fear, and past experiences quietly decide how reality feels before you even explain it to yourself. This is why the same room can feel calm one day and heavy the next. The walls did not change, the air did not change, but something inside you did. When your nervous system feels safe, people seem easier to understand. Silence feels peaceful, and small problems feel manageable. But when your nervous system is stressed, tired, wounded, or alert, even simple things can feel personal. A short reply can feel like rejection. A quiet face can look like judgment. A delayed message can feel like abandonment. A normal mistake can feel like proof that everything is falling apart. What makes this so powerful is that most people think they are reacting to reality when they are often reacting to their body's interpretation of reality. Your nervous system does not only ask, "What is happening?" It asks, "Have I felt this danger before?" Then it searches your past for evidence and makes the present feel familiar, even when the situation is different. This is why healing can make life feel unreal at first. The world may not change immediately, but your body stops turning every silence into a warning, every distance into rejection, and every uncertain moment into danger. Reality becomes softer when your nervous system finally learns safety again. Your brain does not show reality, it builds it. Your brain does not simply open your eyes and show you the world exactly as it is. It takes signals, guesses, memories, fears, expectations, and past experiences, then builds a version of reality fast enough for you to survive. What you call seeing is not pure truth. It is your brain's best construction of what it thinks is happening. This is why two people can stand in the same room and walk away with completely different stories. One person sees disrespect, another sees tiredness. One hears silence and feels peace. Another hears silence and feels punishment. The event may be the same, but the brain does not only record events, it gives them meaning. The unsettling part is that your brain builds this reality so quickly that you rarely notice the construction happening. It fills gaps, predicts danger, assumes intentions, edits memories, and connects patterns before your conscious mind catches up. You may think you are responding to what happened when you are actually responding to what your brain believes happened. This is why fear can make harmless things look threatening. This is why love can make ordinary moments feel magical. This is why insecurity can turn neutral words into hidden insults. Your brain is not lying to you on purpose. It is trying to protect you with the information it has. But protection is not always truth. Sometimes your brain builds a world out of old pain and asks you to live inside it. When you understand this, you begin to question your first reaction. You start asking whether life is really hurting you or whether your brain is building danger from memory. The present is already old when you feel it. The moment you call now is not as fresh as it feels. By the time you see, hear, touch, or understand something, your brain has already received the signals, processed them, compared them with memory, and turned them into an experience you can recognize. The present feels instant, but your awareness is always arriving a little late. This makes ordinary life feel strange when you really think about it. The voice you hear has already left someone's mouth. The face you react to has already shifted. The movement you notice has already happened. Even your own emotions are often felt after your body has already started responding. Your heart may tighten before you know you are afraid. Your stomach may drop before you understand why. Your body enters the moment first, and your mind names it afterward. This means you are not standing inside reality raw and untouched. You are standing inside a delayed translation of it. Your brain is constantly catching up, smoothing the delay so life feels continuous. It hides the gap because if you noticed every delay, every signal, every adjustment, existence would feel impossible to manage. The emotional part is that many people spend their lives chasing a perfect present they have never truly held. They think they missed the moment, ruined the moment, or failed to enjoy the moment, not realizing the mind was never built to possess now completely. It was built to interpret it quickly enough to keep you alive. So the present is not a frozen point you can grip. It is a wave already moving as you feel it, asking you not to control it, but to meet it before it disappears. Normal is repetition. You stopped questioning. Normal life is not always truth. Sometimes it is only repetition that became familiar enough to stop feeling strange. The routines you follow, the rules you obey, the places you enter, the greetings you say, the hours you work, the way you dress, the way you speak, and even the dreams you call realistic are often patterns you inherited before you ever had the chance to question them. This is why life can feel fake when you suddenly notice how much of it runs on silent agreement. People wake up at certain times because society trained the day to begin there. They chase money because everyone agreed that paper, numbers, and screens can decide comfort, power, and survival. They respect titles because a system taught them which names deserve attention. They call some things success, not always because they are fulfilling, but because enough people repeated the same definition. The strange part is that repetition creates emotional safety. When something happens often enough, the mind stops inspecting it. It becomes background. A routine can feel natural, even if it is draining you. A relationship can feel normal, even if it is shrinking you. A belief can feel like your own, even if it was planted in childhood and never challenged. This is how people can live inside cages and call them stability. They do not question the cage because everyone around them decorated theirs the same way. But the moment awareness enters, normal begins to crack. You start asking, who taught me this? Why do I accept this? Is this truly mine? That is when life begins to feel less automatic, because repetition loses power the moment you begin to see it. Your personality may be repeated habit. What you call your personality may not be as fixed as it feels. Some parts of you may be real preferences, deep values, and natural tendencies, but many parts may simply be repeated habits that became familiar enough to feel like identity. The way you avoid conflict, seek approval, hide pain, over-explain, shut down, please people, joke when uncomfortable, or expect disappointment may not be who you are. It may be what you practiced for so long that your mind stopped separating behavior from self. This is unsettling because people often defend patterns that are secretly hurting them. Someone says, I am just quiet, when they learned silence from being dismissed. Someone says, I am independent, when they learned not to expect help. Someone says, I am difficult to love, when they have only been treated carelessly by people who could not love well. Over time, survival responses begin wearing the mask of personality. The brain loves repetition because repetition saves energy. If you react the same way enough times, your mind turns that reaction into a shortcut. You no longer choose it slowly, you become it automatically. This is how a childhood defense can become an adult identity, and how old pain can start speaking in your voice. But if personality can be shaped by repetition, it can also be reshaped by awareness. You are not trapped inside every version of yourself you have practiced. The version of you that panics, withdraws, chases, tolerates, or doubts may not be permanent. It may simply be the version that got rehearsed the most. And when you begin practicing differently, a new self slowly stops feeling fake. People react to their version of you. People do not always react to who you truly are. They react to the version of you they have built inside their mind. That version may be shaped by one conversation, one mistake, one rumor, one insecurity, one desire, one fear, or one memory they never fully understood. You may be standing in front of them with honest intentions, but they may be responding to a story about you that only exists inside them. This is why you can explain yourself clearly and still be misunderstood. Some people are not listening to meet you. They are listening to confirm what they already decided. If they see you as selfish, your boundaries will look cruel. If they see you as weak, your kindness will look like permission. If they see you as a threat, your silence will look like arrogance. If they secretly need you to be wrong, even your truth will feel offensive to them. The painful part is that you can spend your life trying to correct versions of yourself you did not create. You may try to be softer, clearer, quieter, louder, more patient, more available, more perfect, hoping people will finally see you accurately. But some people are not reacting to your presence. They are reacting to their projection. This does not mean you should stop caring how you affect others. It means you must stop believing every reaction is a mirror of your worth. Sometimes their response reveals more about their wounds, expectations, and assumptions than your character. Freedom begins when you realize you cannot control the private version of you living in someone else's mind. You can only live truthfully enough that you do not become trapped trying to edit it. A place changes when your mood changes. A place is never just a place. It is also the feeling you bring into it. The same room, street, house, church, school, workplace, or quiet corner can feel completely different depending on what is happening inside you. Nothing outside may move, yet everything feels altered because your mood has changed the lens through which you see it. When you are peaceful, a room can feel warm, open, and familiar. The light seems softer. The silence feels gentle. People's voices do not cut as deeply. Small inconveniences seem easy to handle. But when you are anxious, hurt, lonely, ashamed, or emotionally tired, that same room can feel heavy. The same silence becomes uncomfortable. The same faces seem distant. The same walls feel smaller. The same air feels harder to breathe. This is why returning to a familiar place after pain can feel strange. The place may look the same, but you are not entering it as the same person. A kitchen where you once laughed can feel empty after loss. A street you once loved can feel cold after heartbreak. A bedroom can stop feeling restful when your mind has turned it into a place for overthinking. What makes this powerful is that most people blame the place before they notice their inner state. They say, "This place feels wrong," when sometimes the body is carrying memories, tension, or sadness into the room. Your mood paints reality before your eyes interpret it. It decides what feels safe, what feels threatening, what feels lonely, and what feels alive. This is why healing can make old places feel new again, not because the place changed, but because your inner world stopped darkening it. Remembering can quietly rewrite the memory. Remembering feels like opening an old file, but it is closer to rewriting a page every time you touch it. The mind does not store memories like a camera stores footage. It stores fragments, images, emotions, sounds, meanings, body sensations, and unfinished interpretations. When you remember something, your brain gathers those pieces again and rebuilds the scene. But each rebuild can slightly change the memory. This is why the same event can feel different after years. A childhood moment may look innocent at first, then painful when you understand what was really happening. A conversation may seem harmless, until later experience teaches you the hidden meaning behind someone's tone. A heartbreak may feel like love at one stage, then reveal itself as attachment, fear, or emotional hunger later. The event did not change, but but the mind rewriting it from a new emotional position did. What makes this so powerful is that people often trust memory as absolute proof. They say, "I remember it clearly," without realizing clarity does not always mean accuracy. A memory can become sharper because it is emotionally loaded, not because it is perfectly true. Pain adds color, fear adds threat, shame adds blame, desire adds beauty. Over time, your mind may protect you by softening some details or punish you by making others heavier. This means part of your past may be less fixed than you believe. You are not only remembering what happened, you are remembering what your nervous system decided it meant. And if the meaning changes, the memory changes with it. That is why healing can feel like betrayal at first. You are not losing the past. You are finally seeing it without the same old wound holding the pen. Memories are rebuilt, not replayed. Memories feel like recordings, but they are not perfect videos stored inside your mind. They are pieces your brain gathers and rebuilds each time you remember. A face, a smell, a sentence, a feeling, a place, a fear, and a meaning may come together so smoothly that it feels like you are replaying the past exactly as it happened. But what you are really experiencing is a reconstruction. This is why memory can feel so real and still be incomplete. Your brain does not keep every detail. It keeps what mattered emotionally, what felt dangerous, what felt beautiful, what confused you, or what helped you survive. Then, when you remember, your present mood enters the process. If you are sad, the memory may feel darker. If you are lonely, it may feel sweeter. If you are angry, it may feel sharper. The past is touched by the state of the person remembering it. This becomes unsettling because many people build their entire identity around memories they believe are fixed. They say, "That is just who I am because of what happened," not realizing their mind may have rebuilt the event through fear, shame, grief, or longing. The event may be real, but the meaning attached to it may have changed many times. This is also why two people can remember the same moment differently and both feel certain. Each mind rebuilt the scene using different emotions, needs, wounds, and details. Memory is powerful because it can comfort you, trap you, or convince you that the past is still alive. But sometimes what haunts you is not the event itself. It is the version your mind keeps rebuilding. Life feels stable because your brain guesses well. Life feels solid because your brain is constantly predicting what should happen next. You do not notice it because the prediction happens quietly, behind the surface of awareness. Before you fully enter a room, your brain has already guessed where the walls are, how the floor should feel, what objects belong there, and what sounds are normal. It is not waiting for reality to explain itself every second. It is guessing ahead so the world feels smooth. This is why you can walk through your house in the dark and still know where things are. It is why you can finish someone's sentence before they finish speaking. It is why a missing object feels wrong before you even understand what is missing. Your brain builds expectations, then compares life against them. The strange part is that stability is not proof that reality is perfectly clear. It is proof that your brain is skilled at hiding uncertainty. It fills gaps so quickly that you rarely notice how much you are assuming. A familiar voice feels safe because your brain predicts it. A routine feels normal because your brain already knows the pattern. A familiar face feels trustworthy because your brain has stored a story around it. But when prediction fails, life suddenly feels fake. A friend acts cold. A room feels different. A normal day becomes strange. Someone you trusted behaves unlike themselves. The brain pauses because the pattern has broken. That discomfort is not just confusion. It is your mind realizing it was not seeing everything. It was guessing well enough to make life feel stable until reality interrupted the guess. Silence becomes whatever your mind adds. Silence is never empty when the mind is restless. It becomes a screen where your fears, hopes, memories, and insecurities begin projecting meaning. The room may be quiet, the phone may be still, the person may have said nothing, but your mind refuses to leave the space blank. It starts filling it with possibilities, and some of those possibilities can feel more real than words. This is why silence can feel peaceful to one person and painful to another. If your nervous system feels safe, silence becomes rest. It feels like space, calm, privacy, and relief. But if you are anxious, wounded, lonely, or unsure of your place in someone's life, silence becomes a threat. It starts sounding like rejection. It starts looking like distance. It starts feeling like punishment. A message left unanswered can become an entire story. A quiet face can become judgment. A pause in conversation can become proof that someone is upset. Nothing has happened, yet inside you, something is happening loudly. Your mind takes the absence of information and turns it into emotional evidence. What makes this so powerful is that silence often reveals the stories you already carry. It does not create every fear. It exposes the ones waiting inside you, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of being unwanted, the fear that love is disappearing, the fear that peace is only the calm before pain returns. Silence is dangerous when you let your wounds translate it alone. Sometimes nothing means nothing, but to a hurting mind, nothing can become everything. Two people can share life, not reality. Two people can live in the same house, sit in the same room, hear the same words, and still experience completely different worlds. This is one of the strangest things about being human. We often assume that closeness means shared reality, but closeness only means shared space. What happens inside each person can be entirely different. One person may hear silence and feel peace. Another may hear silence and feel rejection. One person may remember a conversation as honest. Another may remember it as cruel. One person may see a childhood home and feel warmth. Another may see the same walls and feel pain. The location is the same. The event is the same. But the inner meaning is not. This happens because every person brings their own nervous system, memories, fears, expectations, wounds, and emotional history into every moment. No one enters life empty. Everyone carries invisible filters. A word that sounds harmless to you may touch an old wound in someone else. A joke that feels light to one person may feel humiliating to another. A delay that means nothing to you may feel like abandonment to someone who has been left before. This is why misunderstandings can hurt so deeply. You think someone experienced what you experienced, so their reaction feels unfair. But they were not standing inside your reality. They were standing inside theirs. The painful truth is that love, friendship, family, and closeness do not guarantee that people see the same world. Sometimes the deepest loneliness is not being alone, but realizing someone beside you is living a different version of the same life. Your name is a sound you learned as you. Your name feels like you, but it did not begin as you. It began as a sound other people repeated until your mind attached identity to it. Before you understood language, before you had opinions, before you knew your face in a mirror, people called that sound and expected you to respond. Over time, your nervous system learned, that means me. This is strange because a name is not your body, your soul, your thoughts, your memories, or your private inner world. It is a label placed on you before you could agree to it. Yet now, when someone says it with love, you soften. When someone says it with anger, your body tightens. When someone forgets it, you may feel unseen. When someone uses it warmly, you may feel recognized. A sound becomes powerful because your life has been trained around it. Your name can carry history you did not choose. It can hold family expectations, cultural meaning, childhood memories, praise, correction, shame, affection, and identity. The same name can feel different depending on who says it. From one person, it feels safe. From another, it feels like warning. From someone you miss, it can open a whole room inside you. What makes this reality bending is that people can control your attention by making one sound. In a crowd, many voices may blur, but your name cuts through the noise. Your brain searches for it because it has been programmed to treat that sound as personally important. So the thing you call yourself is partly a symbol the world taught you to answer to, until it became impossible to hear it as ordinary noise. A mirror shows your face, not your presence. A mirror can show your face, but it cannot show what it feels like to be in your presence. It can reflect your eyes, your skin, your shape, your expression, and the way light falls on you, but it cannot reflect your energy, your silence, your warmth, your tension, your sadness, your humor, or the way people experience you when you enter a room. This is why looking in the mirror can feel strangely incomplete. You may stare at your reflection and think you are seeing yourself, but you are only seeing the outside surface. The mirror does not show the comfort someone feels when you listen to them. It does not show the heaviness people sense when you are hiding pain. It does not show the way your voice changes a room, the way your kindness lingers, or the way your absence can be felt after you leave. What makes this so unsettling is that many people judge themselves by the one version of them a mirror can capture. They reduce their worth to angles, flaws, features, and appearances, forgetting that most of their real impact cannot be seen in glass. A mirror cannot measure how safe someone feels around you. It cannot reveal how deeply you think, how strongly you love, or how much you have survived. Your reflection is only the visible evidence that you exist. It is not the full truth of who you are. The people around you do not experience you as a still image. They experience your presence, your mood, your attention, your timing, your honesty, and the emotional atmosphere you bring with you. Your body changes, yet you remains. Your body is never as permanent as it feels. Cells die, renew, repair, weaken, grow, and change while you continue calling yourself the same person. The face you had as a child is gone. The body you had years ago has shifted. Your voice, posture, strength, skin, habits, and even the way you move through the world may have changed many times, yet something inside still says, "This is me." That is what makes identity feel so strange. You are living inside a body that keeps replacing itself, but your sense of self keeps creating continuity. You look at old pictures and say, "That was me," even though that version of your body no longer exists in the same way. You remember childhood through adult eyes. You carry memories from a person whose hands were smaller, whose fears were different, whose world was narrower, and whose understanding was incomplete. The emotional part is that people often suffer because they expect the body to stay loyal to an old image. They compare themselves to who they used to be, not realizing change is not betrayal. It is the body's quiet law. The body is always becoming, always leaving behind older versions, always moving you forward, whether you are ready or not. But beneath all that change, there is a witness inside you that keeps collecting the story. The body changes, but the feeling of, "I am here," continues. This is why life feels unreal when you pause long enough to notice it. You are not one fixed object. You are a moving process that somehow still feels like one person. Your old self is gone, but remembered. The person you used to be is no longer here in the exact same way. That version of you had different fears, different hopes, different habits, different beliefs, and a different understanding of life. They made choices with the knowledge they had then. They loved from the wounds they carried then. They trusted, reacted, stayed, left, cried, hoped, and survived from a mind that had not yet learned what you know now. Yet, you still remember them as if they are close. You can look at an old picture, hear an old song, visit an old place, or smell something familiar, and suddenly, that past version of you feels alive again. Not fully present, but not completely gone either. Memory keeps old selves preserved like emotional shadows. They cannot return, but they can still touch you. This is why growth can feel painful. You are not only changing, you are quietly losing versions of yourself. The innocent version, the trusting version, the version that waited too long, the version that believed someone would change, the version that thought life would be simpler. Each one disappears slowly, but memory keeps their fingerprints on your heart. What makes this so strange is that you can miss who you were, even if that version of you was hurting. You can feel grief for a self you had to outgrow. You can feel tenderness toward a past version who did not know better. Your old self is gone, but remembered, and maybe that is why healing feels emotional. You are not erasing them. You are carrying them forward without letting them keep living your life. Much of your day runs on autopilot. Much of your day is not fully chosen. It is repeated. You wake up, reach for the same thoughts, check the same things, move through the same routines, react to the same triggers, speak in familiar patterns, and return to habits you barely remember deciding. Life feels conscious, but large parts of it are handled by mental programs running quietly beneath your awareness. This is why you can arrive somewhere and barely remember the journey. Your body moved, your eyes looked, your hands worked, but your mind was somewhere else. This is why you can open your phone without meaning to, worry about the same problem again, answer people the same way, or fall into the same emotional reaction before you notice it happening. Autopilot is not always bad. It saves energy. It helps you function without thinking through every tiny action. But it becomes dangerous when pain, fear, avoidance, and self-sabotage become automatic too. You may not be choosing the same relationship pattern. You may be repeating emotional programming. You may not be choosing anxiety. Your body may be returning to a familiar state. You may not be choosing delay. Your mind may be protecting you from discomfort. The unsettling part is that a person can live for years believing they are making fresh choices, while actually repeating old scripts. Same fears, same excuses, same reactions, same silent compromises, same cycle dressed as a new day. Awareness breaks autopilot. The moment you pause and ask, "Why am I doing this?" the program loses some control. That question pulls you back into your life before habit spends another day for you. Attention is the camera, not the world. Your attention is not the whole world. It is only the camera your mind is pointing at one small part of it. Whatever attention focuses on becomes brighter, louder, heavier, and more important, while everything outside that focus quietly fades into the background. This is why life can feel completely different depending on what your mind keeps filming. If your attention stays on what is missing, your life begins to feel empty even when good things are still present. If your attention stays on one person's silence, everyone else's love can become invisible. If your attention stays on one mistake, your progress can disappear from view. The world did not shrink. Your camera simply zoomed in on pain. This is what makes attention so powerful. It does not just observe reality, it edits reality. It decides what gets emotional weight. It decides what becomes evidence. It decides what your nervous system treats as important. A small problem can feel huge when attention keeps returning to it. A fear can feel like truth when attention keeps feeding it. A memory can feel alive when attention keeps replaying it. Most people believe they are overwhelmed by life. when sometimes they are overwhelmed by what their attention refuses to release. The mind can turn one corner of reality into the whole room. It can make one rejection feel like your entire worth. It can make one delay feel like your whole future is collapsing. This is why protecting your attention matters. Where your attention rests, your emotions gather. What you keep watching inside your mind eventually starts feeling like the world itself. Focus makes things emotionally larger. Focus is not neutral. Whatever you keep looking at inside your mind begins to grow in emotional size. A small fear becomes a heavy warning. A brief silence becomes a sign. One mistake becomes proof. One person's opinion becomes the whole measurement of your worth. The thing itself may not be enormous, but your focus can make it feel enormous. This is why a thought can start as something tiny and end up controlling your entire mood. You may wake up feeling fine, then remember one uncomfortable message, one unpaid bill, one awkward conversation, one painful memory, and suddenly your whole day feels stained. Nothing outside may have changed, but your attention kept feeding one thing until it filled the room inside you. Focus works like emotional magnification. It does not only show you what matters, it can convince you something matters more than it truly does. The more you stare at rejection, the more unlovable you feel. The more you stare at uncertainty, the more unsafe life feels. The more you stare at what you lack, the more invisible your blessings become. This is why people can live surrounded by evidence of progress and still feel behind. Their focus is not on what is growing. It is on what is missing. The mind keeps zooming into the wound, then calls the wound the whole truth. The dangerous part is that focus can become devotion without you realizing it. Whatever receives your repeated attention slowly receives your emotional power. And if you keep feeding fear, shame, regret, or comparison, they do not stay small. They become the world your mind believes it is living in. Boring days are often unnoticed days. Boring days are not always empty. Many times they are simply days you failed to notice deeply. Life did not disappear. Your attention did. The sunlight still changed across the room. Your body still carried you. People still moved around you with hidden stories. Your thoughts still shaped your mood, and quiet moments still offered meaning. But because nothing dramatic happened, your mind called the day boring. This is strange because the brain is addicted to contrast. It notices danger, surprise, pleasure, conflict, and change more than it notices stability. So when life becomes calm, repeated, or predictable, the mind stops paying attention. It treats ordinary things as background, even though those ordinary things are the very fabric of your life. A boring day may contain the peace you once begged for during painful seasons. It may contain a body still breathing, food still available, someone still alive, a home still standing, and time still giving you another chance. But because these things are familiar, they become invisible. The mind often values something only when it is interrupted, threatened, or gone. This is why nostalgia can hurt. You later miss the days you once ignored. You remember a simple afternoon, a normal conversation, a familiar voice, a routine you thought would last forever, and suddenly it feels sacred. Not because it was boring, but because you did not know it was temporary. Boredom is sometimes not the absence of meaning. It is the absence of attention. A day becomes alive again when you stop waiting for life to become dramatic before you agree to feel it. Time bends around meaning. Time does not always move the way the clock claims it moves. A boring hour can feel endless, while a beautiful hour disappears before you are ready. 5 minutes of fear can feel longer than a whole afternoon of peace. One painful conversation can stretch inside your mind for years, while ordinary weeks can vanish so quietly you barely remember living them. This happens because your brain does not measure time only by seconds. It measures time by attention, emotion, novelty, danger, and meaning. When something matters deeply, the mind slows down and records more details. When something feels repetitive, the mind stores less, so the experience later feels shorter. This is why childhood felt longer. Everything was new, so the brain kept collecting details. As life becomes routine, days begin to blur because the mind stops treating them as important. The strange part is that time can expand after something is gone. A simple memory may become heavier years later because it now carries meaning you did not see then. A normal goodbye can become unforgettable when you realize it was the last one. A small moment can grow larger in memory because loss, love, regret, or gratitude changed its weight. This is why people can live through years that feel empty, then remember one afternoon forever. Time bends around what touched you. It does not only pass, it imprints. The clock may say every minute is equal, but your heart knows some minutes hold entire seasons, while some seasons leave almost no trace at all. Childhood felt longer because everything was new. Childhood felt longer because your mind was meeting the world for the first time. A street was not just a street, it was a whole universe of colors, sounds, faces, smells, questions, fears, and small discoveries. A school day could feel like an entire chapter because your brain was collecting details it had never seen before. Everything had emotional weight because everything was still becoming familiar. As a child, your brain had to pay attention. New rooms, new people, new rules, new feelings, new dangers, new joys, and new disappointments all demanded space in your memory. The first time you made a friend, lost something important, felt embarrassed, received praise, heard thunder, entered a classroom, or stayed awake past your usual time, your mind recorded it with intensity. Novelty made time feel wide. But as you grow older, life becomes more predictable. You have seen many mornings, many roads, many conversations, many meals, many disappointments, many routines. The brain begins to save energy by compressing familiar experiences. If today looks like yesterday, and yesterday looked like last week, your mind stores less detail. The day still happened, but it leaves fewer marks. This is why adult years can disappear so quickly. It is not always because time is moving faster. It is because fewer moments feel new enough to be deeply recorded. Repetition makes life efficient, but it also makes memory thinner. Childhood felt longer because wonder slowed everything down. The world had not yet become background. Every ordinary thing still had the power to surprise you, and surprise gives time a deeper shape. The future is a prediction. The future feels real because your mind keeps building it before you arrive there. You picture conversations that have not happened, problems that have not appeared, opportunities that have not opened, losses that have not occurred, and versions of yourself that do not exist yet. Your body may even react to these predictions as if they are already true. This is why worry can feel so convincing. Nothing may be happening in the present, yet your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and your mood changes because your brain has created a possible future and asked your nervous system to prepare for it. The threat is imagined, but the reaction is real. Your body does not always know the difference between danger in front of you and danger predicted inside you. The strange part is that people often suffer more from future predictions than from actual events. A person may lose sleep over a conversation that never happens. They may fear rejection from someone who has not rejected them. They may delay a dream because their mind has already rehearsed failure. The future becomes a private movie, and the body sits there believing every scene. But the future is not memory. It is not proof. It is not prophecy. It is your brain using old information to guess what may come next. Sometimes those guesses are wise. Sometimes they are built from fear, trauma, disappointment, or self-doubt. This means anxiety is often not a warning from reality, but a prediction dressed as certainty. The future may feel heavy, but much of that weight comes from living emotionally inside something that has not happened yet. The past is a reconstruction. The past feels fixed because it already happened, but the way you experience it is constantly being rebuilt inside your mind. You are not carrying the past as a perfect record. You are carrying pieces of it, shaped by memory, emotion, age, pain, understanding, and the meaning you gave it later. This is why the same past can feel different at different stages of life. Something you once laughed about may later feel painful when you realize what it cost you. Something you once blamed yourself for may later look like survival. Someone you once missed may later appear less loving than you believed. A season you thought was ordinary may become precious only after it is gone. Your mind does not return to the past empty. It returns with who you are now. Every new lesson, wound, disappointment, maturity, and healing changes the way old moments look. You do not only remember what happened, you remember it through the person you have become since it happened. This is what makes the past so powerful. It can trap people in old meanings that no longer deserve control. A childhood wound can become an adult identity. One rejection can become a belief about love. One failure can become a story about worth. The event may be over, but the reconstruction keeps giving it fresh life. The past is not fake, but your relationship with it is not as solid as it feels. Some memories are not asking to be replayed. They are asking to be reinterpreted with the wisdom you did not have when they were first formed. Life only touches you now. Life can only reach you in the present moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not the version of tomorrow your mind keeps rehearsing, and not the version of yesterday your memory keeps rebuilding. The only place where breath enters your body, where sound reaches your ears, where pain is felt, where peace can return, where choice is possible, is now. This sounds simple, but it becomes disturbing when you notice how rarely the mind stays there. The body sits in one place, but the mind travels everywhere else. It returns to old conversations, old mistakes, old losses, old embarrassments, old versions of people, and old versions of yourself. Then it runs ahead into fears, plans, imagined rejection, possible failure, and unfinished desires. Meanwhile, life is touching you in the only place it can, but your attention is somewhere else. This is why people can lose whole seasons while mentally living in another time. They eat without tasting, listen without hearing, rest without resting, and move through days without truly entering them. The present keeps offering itself, but the mind keeps leaving the room. The painful part is that many people do not miss life because life disappears. They miss it because they were busy arguing with the past or negotiating with the future. They were alive, but not available to the moment that was actually happening. Now is not always comfortable. Sometimes now contains grief, uncertainty, silence, or fear. But it is still the only place where anything can change. The past can explain you. The future can pull you, but only now can hold you. You meet people through assumptions. You rarely meet people as they truly are. You meet them through the assumptions your mind makes before you fully understand them. Their face, voice, clothes, silence, confidence, nervousness, accent, posture, job, background, and first few words quickly become material your brain uses to build a story. Before the person has fully revealed themselves, your mind has already started deciding what kind of person they might be. This is why first impressions can feel so powerful, even when they are incomplete. Someone quiet may be seen as rude when they are only shy. Someone confident may be seen as arrogant when they are only comfortable. Someone distant may be seen as cold when they are exhausted. Someone kind may be seen as weak when they are simply gentle. The mind does not wait for the full truth. It fills the gaps with what it already believes. The unsettling part is that your assumptions often come from your past, not from the person in front of you. If someone reminds you of someone who hurt you, your body may distrust them before they have done anything wrong. If someone carries the same warmth as someone you loved, you may trust them too quickly. You are not only seeing them, you are seeing echoes. This is how people become trapped inside roles they never chose. They become too much, not serious, dangerous, safe, boring, special, or untrustworthy inside another person's mind before they are truly known. Meeting someone honestly requires slowing the mind down, because sometimes the person in front of you is not the story your fear, desire, memory, or insecurity created. Strangers may remember what you forgot. A stranger can carry a memory of you that you no longer remember creating. One small act, one sentence, one look, one moment of kindness, impatience, beauty, awkwardness, courage, or carelessness may have passed through your life like nothing, but stayed inside someone else for years. To you, it was a moment. To them, it became a memory. This is what makes ordinary life feel strange. You do not always know when you are becoming part of someone's story. You may have encouraged someone with words you barely thought about. You may have embarrassed someone with a reaction you forgot 5 minutes later. You may have smiled at someone on a difficult day and never known that your face became proof that the world still had gentleness in it. People are quietly collecting pieces of each other all the time. A cashier remembers a customer's tone. A child remembers the adult who listened. A classmate remembers who laughed at them. A lonely person remembers who noticed them. A wounded person remembers who made them feel safe for a second. You may forget the moment because your life kept moving, but their heart may have stored it differently. The unsettling part is that you are larger in the world than your own awareness. You leave emotional fingerprints in places you never revisit. You appear in memories you cannot access. There may be people who think of you sometimes, not because you were central to your own day, but because you became central to theirs. This means no moment is completely small. Even when you are not paying attention, someone else may be remembering. One sentence can reshape a year. One sentence can enter your life quietly and change the meaning of everything that came before it. A confession, an apology, a rejection, a compliment, a warning, a diagnosis, a goodbye, or a truth finally spoken can rearrange months of memories in a single moment. The year you thought you understood can suddenly become a different story. This is why words have emotional power far beyond their length. Someone can say, "I never meant it," and every sacrifice you made begins to feel different. Someone can say, "I was proud of you," and a difficult season suddenly feels witnessed. Someone can say, "I do not love you anymore," and ordinary memories start hurting in places they never hurt before. The sentence does not only affect the present, it travels backward, changing how the past feels. The strange part is that life can look stable until language breaks the illusion. You may spend months believing a relationship is safe, a friendship is real, a job is secure, a dream is possible, or a person is honest. Then one sentence arrives and reveals what was hidden beneath the surface. Suddenly, all the small signs you ignored begin connecting. But one sentence can also heal. A simple, "I believe you," "You were right," "I am sorry," or "You are not alone," can soften pain that has been sitting inside someone for years. Words can wound because they give meaning. Words can heal because they replace meaning. This is why careless speech is dangerous. A sentence may leave your mouth in seconds, but live inside someone else for an entire year. Every room holds hidden stories. Every room looks still until you remember how much life has passed through it. A room is never just walls, floor, ceiling, furniture, and light. It is a silent container of conversations, secrets, waiting, laughter, arguments, prayers, loneliness, decisions, fear, comfort, and moments no one else may ever know happened there. Someone may have sat in that room, pretending to be fine while falling apart inside. Someone may have received news that changed their life. Someone may have laughed so hard they forgot their pain for a while. Someone may have made a decision there that split their future into a different direction. Someone may have cried quietly, rehearsed words they never said, forgiven someone, lost trust, found courage, or realized they could no longer stay the same. This is what makes ordinary spaces feel almost unreal. A bedroom can hold childhood dreams, sleepless nights, private grief, and silent healing. A kitchen can hold family warmth, financial stress, old routines, and conversations people still remember years later. A classroom can hold embarrassment, discovery, pressure, friendship, and the first moment someone began believing they were smart or not enough. The strange part is that most rooms hide their emotional history well. You can enter a place and see nothing unusual, while the space has already witnessed human lives changing in invisible ways. The walls do not speak, but they have been present for things people still carry inside their bodies. Every room is full of unseen memory. What looks empty may have once held someone's breaking point, beginning, goodbye, or survival. Every street carries invisible lives. Every street looks ordinary when you pass through it quickly, but every street is carrying lives you cannot see. People walk, drive, wait, hurry, sit, sell, greet, avoid eye contact, answer calls, cross roads, and disappear into buildings. But beneath those simple movements are private worlds full of pressure, memory, fear, hope, grief, love, and unfinished stories. A man walking slowly may be carrying news he has not told anyone. A woman smiling at a stranger may have cried before leaving home. A child holding someone's hand may remember that street years later as part of their childhood. Someone may be passing the exact place where they once received a painful call, met someone they loved, lost someone, started over, or made a decision they never spoke about. This is what makes a street feel unreal when you really pay attention. It is not just concrete, shops, cars, dust, signs, doors, and movement. It is a river of hidden human experience. Every window may contain a private battle. Every gate may hide a family story. Every parked car may have heard conversations that changed relationships. Every corner may mean nothing to you, but everything to someone else. The strange part is that we usually move through streets as if they are empty backgrounds for our own lives. But they are not empty. They are shared stages where thousands of invisible emotions pass each other without recognition. A street does not need to speak to be full. It carries footsteps, departures, reunions, survival, regret, dreams, and silent prayers. What looks normal from the outside may be crowded with lives no one will ever fully know. Everyone carries a private universe. Every person you pass is carrying a whole world you will never fully enter. Behind one face is a private universe of memories, fears, dreams, disappointments, secrets, regrets, beliefs, wounds, hopes, and silent conversations they keep having with themselves. You may see their body, hear their voice, and know their name, but you do not see the full reality they are living inside. This is what makes human life so strange. Someone can sit beside you and look calm, while inside them, they are reliving a painful memory. Someone can laugh in public while privately worrying about money, family, health, love, or the future. Someone can seem confident while secretly feeling like they are one mistake away from falling apart. The outside gives clues, but it never gives the whole universe. Every person has emotional weather no one else can fully feel. They have childhood scenes that shaped them, words they never forgot, losses they rarely mention, private victories no one celebrated, and questions they are too afraid to ask aloud. Their reactions may look simple, but they often come from histories you cannot see. This is why judging people too quickly can be dangerous. You may be responding to one visible behavior while missing the invisible weight behind it. A quiet person may be overwhelmed. A distant person may be protecting themselves. A difficult person may be acting from pain they never learned to name. Everyone around you is more than their appearance, mood, status, or mistake. They are living inside a private universe, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do is remember that you are only seeing the surface. Life looks simple because feelings stay hidden. Life looks simple from the outside because people hide most of what they feel. You see faces, clothes, routines, smiles, greetings, jobs, photos, and normal conversations, but you rarely see the emotional weight underneath them. The world appears organized because everyone has learned how to carry chaos quietly. A person can say, "I'm fine," while fighting thoughts they cannot explain. Someone can go to work, answer messages, laugh at jokes, cook dinner, and still feel deeply tired inside. A family can look peaceful in public while carrying tension at home. A relationship can look perfect online while slowly breaking in private. A student can look calm in class while feeling lost. A friend can reply casually while secretly needing help. This is why normal life can feel fake when you notice how much is concealed. People are not always lying. Sometimes they are surviving. They hide pain because they do not want to burden others. They hide fear because they do not want to seem weak. They hide loneliness because admitting it feels humiliating. They hide resentment because peace depends on silence. They hide exhaustion because life still expects performance. The strange part is that hidden feelings shape everything. They decide how people speak, withdraw, love, react, forgive, avoid, and pretend. A short answer may carry sadness. A loud laugh may cover insecurity. A calm face may be holding back tears. What looks simple is often emotionally crowded. Life seems easier to understand when you only look at surfaces. But once you realize every person is protecting a private inner world, ordinary moments become heavier, softer, and more mysterious. The visible life is only the small part people allow the world to see. Most adults are improvising confidence. Most adults are not as certain as they look. Many are simply improvising confidence because life keeps demanding decisions before they feel fully ready. They walk into rooms, raise children, lead teams, pay bills, give advice, answer questions, make plans, and carry responsibilities while quietly wondering if they are doing enough, choosing right, or becoming the kind of person they were supposed to be. This is why adulthood can feel like a performance no one admits is happening. People wear calm faces because panic would scare others. They speak with certainty because hesitation may cost them respect. They make choices because waiting for perfect clarity would stop life completely. Behind many serious expressions is a person still learning, still doubting, still trying not to look lost. The strange part is that childhood teaches you to believe adults know everything. Then you grow older and realize many adults were guessing with better posture. They had bills, titles, marriages, children, jobs, and responsibilities. But inside they were still afraid of failure, rejection, embarrassment, loss, and not being enough. Confidence often begins as imitation. You act steady before you feel steady. You speak while your heart is unsure. You show up while fear is still sitting inside you. Over time, surviving those moments creates real strength. But the beginning is rarely as polished as it appears. This is why you should be careful comparing your inner uncertainty to someone else's outer composure. Many people are not fearless. They are functioning while afraid. They are learning in public. They are building confidence one uncertain step at a time, pretending just long enough for courage to become real. Authority works because people believe together. Authority feels powerful because many people agree to treat it as powerful. A title, badge, uniform, office, throne, certificate, podium, signature, or position can change how others behave around a person, even before that person speaks. The human being may be ordinary, but the symbol around them makes people listen differently, obey faster, question less, and assume they know more. This is what makes authority so reality-bending. A person wearing certain clothes can stop traffic. A judge's words can change someone's future. A teacher's approval can shape a child's confidence. A boss's opinion can decide how safe an employee feels. A leader's statement can move crowds, markets, fear, hope, and belief. The power does not come only from the person. It comes from the shared agreement that their role means something. The strange part is that authority can feel natural after enough repetition. People stand when told, wait when instructed, lower their voice in certain buildings, respect certain chairs, fear certain letters, and obey systems they may not fully understand. Society works because millions of people participate in invisible agreements every day. But this also makes authority dangerous when people stop thinking. If a title becomes stronger than truth, people may follow orders that harm them. If a uniform becomes stronger than conscience, people may silence their own judgment. If status becomes stronger than character, people may mistake control for wisdom. Authority is not always false. Some authority protects, teaches, organizes, and guides, but it only works because people believe together. The moment enough people stop believing, the powerful symbol becomes just cloth, paper, sound, or a chair. Money is organized imagination. Money feels solid because it can buy food, shelter, comfort, status, safety, freedom, attention, and power. But at its core, money is organized imagination. A paper note, a coin, a bank balance, or numbers on a screen only works because people collectively agree to believe it represents value. Without that shared belief, money becomes ink, metal, plastic, or digital marks with no force of its own. This is what makes money so strange. It can decide where people live, how they are treated, who feels respected, who feels trapped, who gets care, who gets ignored, and who has options. A number attached to someone's name can change their confidence, their choices, their relationships, and even how society sees them. The number itself is not food, medicine, shelter, or happiness, yet it can open or close the doors to all of them. The emotional power of money comes from the meaning humans built around it. People chase it, fear losing it, hide because of it, marry for it, fight over it, measure themselves by it, and sometimes sacrifice their peace trying to get more of it. Money becomes more than exchange. It becomes proof, pressure, shame, security, control, and identity. The strange part is that something imaginary can create very real consequences. A bank balance can calm your nervous system, a debt can keep you awake at night, a price can decide whether a dream feels possible or foolish. Money is not fake because belief gives it power, but it is reality-bending because the world moves around something humans invented, trusted, and obeyed together. A uniform changes how people treat you. A uniform can change the way people see a human being before they know anything about them. The body inside may be tired, afraid, kind, confused, insecure, or ordinary. But once a uniform appears, people begin reacting to the role instead of the person. A doctor's coat, a police uniform, a soldier's gear, a school uniform, a judge's robe, a security outfit, or a company badge can instantly shift respect, fear, trust, obedience, or suspicion. This is what makes uniforms so powerful. They compress identity into a symbol. Instead of asking, "Who is this person?" the mind quickly asks, "What does this uniform mean?" If the symbol represents protection, people may feel safer. If it represents punishment, people may become nervous. If it represents expertise, people may believe more quickly. If it represents status, people may behave with extra politeness. The strange part is that the person has not changed. Their thoughts, memories, weaknesses, and private struggles are still there, but the world responds as if the clothing has added authority, danger, importance, or distance. A uniform can make someone feel larger than themselves, and it can make others feel smaller without a word being spoken. This is why uniforms can both organize society and distort it. They help people recognize roles, duties, and responsibilities, but they can also hide character. A kind person can be feared because of a uniform. A harmful person can be trusted because of one. A uniform proves how easily perception bends. Sometimes people are not reacting to the soul in front of them, but to the symbol wrapped around it. A signature can move a life. A signature looks small, but it can carry the power to change someone's entire direction. A few written letters, a mark on paper, or a digital approval can open a door, close a chapter, transfer ownership, confirm commitment, approve opportunity, create debt, end a marriage, begin a job, release payment, authorize treatment, or make a promise official. This is what makes a signature feel almost unreal. The hand moves for a few seconds, but the result can follow a person for years. Someone signs a contract and suddenly belongs to a company, a house, a loan, a school, a country, or an agreement they cannot easily escape. Someone signs a document and another person gains access, loses access, receives permission, or faces consequences. The strange part is that the signature itself is only a symbol. Without collective belief, it is just ink, shape, or typed confirmation. But because systems recognize it, the mark becomes authority. It says, "I agree." It says, "I accept." It says, "This is binding." A life can shift because the world has agreed to treat that mark as proof of intention. This is why signing something can feel heavier than speaking. Words can disappear into air, but a signature remains as evidence. It can protect you, trap you, bless you, expose you, or hold you accountable when memory becomes convenient. A signature is a tiny ritual where identity becomes action. It proves how normal life is built on symbols we agree to obey. One small mark can move money, homes, relationships, futures, and freedom. A password can control your access. A password is just a hidden string of letters, numbers, or symbols, yet it can decide whether you are allowed to enter parts of your own life. Your money, messages, photos, documents, accounts, identity, work, memories, subscriptions, private conversations, and digital history can all sit behind a small secret code. Without it, things that belong to you can suddenly feel locked away from you. This is what makes passwords so strange. They are not walls, doors, guards, or physical locks, but they can block you more powerfully than all of them. One forgotten password can keep you out of your bank account. One stolen password can let a stranger step into your private world. One shared password can turn trust into risk. One changed password can feel like someone has removed you from a place where you once belonged. The emotional power of a password comes from how much modern life depends on invisible gates. You do not only prove ownership with your face, name, or presence anymore, you prove it by remembering the correct secret. A system may know your history, hold your data, and contain your memories, but if you cannot give the right code, it treats you like an outsider. The strange part is that access can shape identity. To be locked out is not only inconvenient, it can feel like losing control over your own life. A password proves how fragile digital belonging is. So much of what feels personal, permanent, and yours can be protected, exposed, or erased by a few characters the world has agreed to obey. Calendars turn time into orders. A calendar looks harmless, but it changes the way humans experience time. Without a calendar, time would feel like sunrise, sunset, hunger, tiredness, seasons, and natural movement. But once time is placed into boxes, dates, reminders, meetings, deadlines, appointments, and schedules, it stops feeling like flow and starts feeling like command. This is what makes calendars so powerful. They turn invisible time into something that can control behavior. A blank square feels free. A filled square feels claimed. One written appointment can decide where your body must be, what your mind must prepare for, who expects you, and what you are allowed to forget. The day has not arrived yet, but the calendar already owns a piece of it. The strange part is that people often obey calendars more than their own energy. The body may be tired, the mind may need rest, the heart may feel heavy, but the calendar says, show up. So they show up. A date on a screen can override mood, hunger, sleep, grief, creativity, and even peace. Time becomes less like life and more like instruction. Calendars also make the future feel real before it happens. A marked date can create excitement, fear, pressure, or dread weeks in advance. One box can hold a wedding, surgery, exam, interview, bill, goodbye, or beginning. Nothing has happened yet, but the nervous system starts reacting as if the future is already standing nearby. A calendar proves how easily humans organize existence into obedience. Time keeps moving freely, but we place lines around it and call those lines responsibility. Deadlines are dates with pressure. A deadline is not just a date. It is a date that has been loaded with expectation, consequence, fear, urgency, and judgment. On the calendar, it may look like an ordinary square, but inside the mind, it becomes a countdown. The day has not arrived yet, but your nervous system begins reacting as if time itself is coming toward you. This is what makes deadlines so powerful. They turn the future into pressure before anything has happened. A project due next week can disturb today's peace. An exam date can change how your body feels every morning. A bill deadline can make ordinary hours feel unsafe. A promise you made can sit in your chest like a weight because the date attached to it keeps moving closer. The strange part is that deadlines create emotional speed. Time may be passing normally, but once a deadline exists, minutes feel sharper. You begin measuring your life by what is unfinished. Rest feels guilty, silence feels wasteful, even joy can feel interrupted because the mind whispers, you still have something waiting. Deadlines can help people act, but they can also make life feel like a race against invisible hands. The pressure does not always come from the task itself. Sometimes it comes from what the deadline seems to threaten: failure, shame, disappointment, punishment, lost opportunity, or the fear of being seen as incapable. A deadline proves that time becomes heavier when consequence is attached to it. The date itself is neutral. The pressure comes from meaning. Without consequence, it is just another day. With consequence, it becomes a line your mind keeps walking toward. Your phone controls mood, focus, and identity. Your phone looks like a small object, but it can quietly control the way you feel, think, behave, and even see yourself. It sits in your hand like a tool, yet it can shape your mood before you notice what has happened. One message can lift you, one silence can disturb you, one notification can pull your attention away from your own life, one post can make you compare, desire, worry, or feel behind. This is what makes the phone so powerful. It does not only connect you to people, it connects your nervous system to endless signals: praise, rejection, news, gossip, memories, entertainment, fear, beauty, success, tragedy, temptation, and distraction all arrive through the same screen. Your mind moves from laughter to anxiety, from confidence to insecurity, from peace to craving, often within minutes. The strange part is that your phone can make you feel watched and invisible at the same time. You can post something and wait for response as if your worth is being measured. You can scroll through other people's lives and forget that you are seeing edited fragments, not full reality. You can become attached to a digital version of yourself, carefully shaped through pictures, words, reactions, and online presence. Your phone also trains your focus. It teaches the mind to jump, check, refresh, and seek stimulation. Silence becomes uncomfortable because the screen is always offering escape. A phone is not just technology. It is a mood machine, attention trap, memory holder, social mirror, and identity stage. The scary part is not that you use it. It is that it may be using you back. Notifications. Touch your nervous system remotely. A notification is not just a sound, vibration, banner, or small light on a screen. It is a signal that can reach into your body from somewhere else and change your internal state instantly. Someone can be miles away, in another room, another city, or another country, yet one message from them can make your heart jump, your stomach tighten, your attention break, or your mood shift. This is what makes notifications so strange. They allow other people, apps, platforms, news, reminders, and algorithms to touch your nervous system without physically being near you. Your body reacts before you even know what the alert means. A familiar ringtone can create anticipation. A message preview can create anxiety. A missed call can create fear. A like, comment, or reply can create excitement, relief, insecurity, or disappointment. The strange part is that notifications train the body to stay available. Even when nothing is happening, part of you may remain alert, waiting for the next signal. Silence no longer feels like silence. It feels like something may arrive at any moment. Your attention becomes interruptible, your peace becomes fragile, and your mind learns to leave the present whenever the device calls. A notification also carries emotional uncertainty. It could be love, conflict, opportunity, rejection, demand, bad news, or nothing important at all. That uncertainty makes the body react strongly because it does not know whether to prepare for comfort or threat. Notifications prove how modern life has changed human attention. A tiny signal from a screen can pull you out of your body, out of the room, and into someone else's timing. Strangers online can shape your thoughts. Strangers online can enter your mind without ever entering your life. You may never know their name, their face, their character, their history, or their true intention. Yet their words can change what you believe, fear, desire, question, buy, hate, defend, or compare yourself to. A person sitting somewhere you will never visit can post one sentence, and suddenly your thoughts begin moving in a new direction. This is what makes the internet so powerful. It allows unknown people to place ideas in front of your eyes all day. Opinions, arguments, stories, advice, beauty standards, lifestyles, outrage, rumors, warnings, and emotional confessions appear so often that they begin to feel like reality. You may think you are simply scrolling, but your mind is being exposed, shaped, pressured, and trained. The strange part is that repeated exposure can feel like truth. If you see enough people saying life is hopeless, you may begin to feel hopeless. If you see enough people displaying success, you may begin to feel behind. If you see enough anger, your own mind may become more suspicious. If you see enough fear, the world may start looking unsafe. Strangers online do not need to know you to influence you. They only need your attention. Once they have that, they can affect your mood, your standards, your beliefs, and your sense of what is normal. This is why your feed is not just entertainment. It is an invisible classroom. Every day it teaches you what to value, what to fear, what to chase, and what to become. The internet sells human attention. The internet looks free because you can scroll, watch, search, laugh, learn, argue, and connect without always paying money directly. But much of the internet is not truly free. You are often paying with attention. Every second your eyes stay on a screen, someone can turn that attention into data, influence, advertising, status, profit, or power. This is what makes the internet feel almost unreal. Your boredom becomes valuable. Your curiosity becomes valuable. Your anger becomes valuable. Your insecurity becomes valuable. Even your loneliness can become valuable because platforms know that a lonely person may scroll longer, click more, seek connection, and return again. The system does not only ask, "What do you want?" It also learns what keeps you unable to leave. The strange part is that your attention can be sold without feeling like something was taken from you. You simply watch one more video, read one more comment, check one more post, open one more notification. But behind that small action, your behavior is being measured. What stopped you? What triggered you? What made you stay? What made you react? What made you come back? The internet does not only show you content, it competes for your mind. It places pleasure, fear, outrage, beauty, comparison, entertainment, and shock in front of you because attention follows emotion. The stronger the feeling, the longer you stay. This is why scrolling can leave you tired even when you did nothing physical. Your attention was working, your mind was being pulled, studied, and redirected. The product was not only what you watched. Sometimes the product was you watching. Trends are temporary shared illusions. A trend feels powerful because many people begin paying attention to the same thing at the same time. A song, phrase, fashion, opinion, challenge, product, joke, lifestyle, or belief can suddenly feel important. Not always because it has deep value, but because enough people are treating it as important. The crowd gives it emotional weight. This is what makes trends so strange. Something can feel urgent today and meaningless months later. People copy it, defend it, spend money on it, build identity around it, and fear being left out of it. Then one day, the attention moves elsewhere. The thing that once looked essential becomes embarrassing, outdated, or forgotten. The illusion fades when collective attention leaves. The strange part is that trends can make people question their own taste. You may not truly want something, but seeing everyone else want it can create desire inside you. You may not truly like something, but repeated exposure can make it feel normal. You may not truly believe something, but constant online agreement can make disagreement feel risky. Trends work because humans are social beings. We look to others for signals about what matters, what is safe, what is attractive, what is valuable, and what is worth noticing. When enough people point in one direction, the mind assumes there must be something there. But a trend is often just attention wearing the mask of truth. It feels real because everyone is participating. Then the moment people stop looking, its power weakens. Trends prove that normal life can be shaped by shared focus, and that many things feel important only because the crowd temporarily agreed to stare at them. Fame is collective attention. Fame feels like greatness, but at its core, it is collective attention gathered around one person. A famous person may still be ordinary and private, with fears, habits, confusion, loneliness, boredom, and hidden weakness. But because millions of minds are pointed at them, they begin to feel larger than life. Their face becomes familiar to strangers. Their name carries weight in rooms they never enter. This is what makes fame so strange. A person can become emotionally important to people who have never spoken to them. Strangers can admire them, defend them, judge them, desire them, copy them, hate them, or feel connected to them through screens, stories, songs, films, interviews, pictures, and rumors. The famous person becomes more than a person. They become an image living inside other people's minds. The unsettling part is that fame can separate a human being from their own humanity. Once enough people are watching, Every action can become meaning. A smile becomes a headline. Silence becomes suspicion. A mistake becomes public property. A relationship becomes entertainment. Pain becomes content. The person is still real, but the crowd begins treating their life like a shared object. Fame also tricks the world into confusing visibility with value. Someone may be deeply wise, kind, gifted, or important, yet remain unknown. Another person may be watched constantly and mistaken for more meaningful simply because attention surrounds them. Fame proves that human perception can enlarge a person beyond their actual presence. It is not only about who someone is, it is about how many minds have agreed to keep looking at them. Privacy feels strange because watching became normal. Privacy used to feel natural. Now, for many people, it can feel suspicious, boring, or even uncomfortable. A quiet life, an unseen meal, an unposted trip, an unshared relationship, or a private achievement can almost feel incomplete because modern life has trained people to turn moments into proof. If it was not posted, shown, recorded, or reacted to, the mind may start asking whether it mattered. This is what makes privacy feel strange now. Watching has become normal. People watch strangers wake up, eat, travel, cry, decorate, exercise, date, fail, heal, argue, confess, and celebrate. Lives that were once hidden behind doors are now displayed through screens. The private world has become public entertainment, and the public world has become a place where people perform being real. The strange part is that being seen can become addictive. A person may begin shaping their life around how it will look to others. They may choose places, clothes, words, friends, opinions, and even emotions based on what can be displayed. Slowly, the self becomes divided. One part lives the moment. Another part watches the moment, asking how it will appear. Privacy then starts feeling like disappearance. Silence feels like losing relevance. Not posting feels like being forgotten. Being unknown feels like failing, even when peace is present. But constant visibility comes with a cost. When watching becomes normal, people forget how to exist without an audience. They forget how to enjoy something without proving it. They forget that a life can be meaningful even when no one is clapping, tracking, liking, or watching from the outside. You can be alone but mentally crowded. You can sit in a quiet room with no one beside you and still feel surrounded, not by bodies, not by voices in the air, but by memories, expectations, worries, unfinished conversations, imagined judgments, old arguments, future fears, and the emotional presence of people who are not physically there. The room may be empty, but your mind can be crowded with entire versions of life. This is what makes loneliness so strange. Being alone does not always mean being at peace. Sometimes being alone gives the mind more space to bring everyone back. Someone who hurt you may return through memory. Someone you miss may return through longing. Someone you fear disappointing may return through pressure. Someone who judged you may return through self-doubt. Their bodies are absent, but their influence remains active inside you. The strange part is that mental crowding can make silence feel noisy. You may try to rest, but your mind starts replaying what you should have said. You may try to sleep, but tomorrow's problems begin forming a line. You may try to enjoy your own company, but comparison, regret, and imagined opinions enter like unwanted visitors. This is why solitude can feel heavy for people who have not learned how to clear their inner space. They are alone outside, but not alone inside. Their attention is being pulled by memories that still want answers, fears that still want control, and people whose approval still feels important. True peace is not just the absence of people. It is the moment your inner world stops hosting every voice that no longer deserves a seat. Reachability can make absence hurt more. Absence used to be easier to understand when people were truly unreachable. If someone traveled far away, if letters took time, if phones were unavailable, silence had a clear reason. Distance explained the gap. But now, when people can be reached almost instantly, absence feels more personal. The person is not gone from the world. They are online, active, visible, reachable, and still not reaching for you. This is what makes modern absence so painful. You can see signs of someone's presence without receiving their attention. They may post, view, reply to others, change their picture, share something, or appear online while your message remains unanswered. The mind does not experience that as simple silence. It experiences it as being bypassed. The strange part is that technology keeps people emotionally close enough to hurt, but not always close enough to comfort. You can know someone is there and still feel abandoned. You can have access to their digital shadow while losing access to their real warmth. You can miss someone more because your phone keeps proving they exist. Reachability creates expectation. If someone can reply, the mind begins asking why they do not. If someone can call, why do they stay silent? If someone can explain, why do they leave you guessing? The pain comes not only from absence, but from possible presence withheld. This is why being ignored today can feel sharper than distance ever did. The silence is no longer protected by mystery. It is surrounded by evidence. Reachability makes absence hurt because it turns "they cannot" into the much heavier fear of "they chose not to." Distance is now emotional access. Distance used to mean space. If someone was far away, the separation was physical. You could understand it through miles, roads, oceans, borders, travel, and time. But now, distance is not only about where someone is, it is about how much emotional access they allow you to have. Someone can live close to you and feel unreachable. They can sit beside you and still keep their thoughts, warmth, honesty, and attention locked away. They can answer politely, smile normally, and share a room with you, yet make you feel like you are standing outside a door they refuse to open. Physical closeness does not guarantee emotional nearness. At the same time, someone far away can feel deeply present. A message, a call, a voice note, a remembered detail, a sincere check-in, or one honest conversation can make distance feel smaller. Their body may be elsewhere, but their care reaches you. Their attention crosses the space. This is what makes modern connections so confusing. You can be close enough to touch someone and still feel lonely. You can be far from someone and still feel held. The real distance is no longer measured only by location. It is measured by response, consistency, honesty, effort, and emotional availability. The painful part is that people often mistake access for connection. Because someone can be contacted, they assume closeness exists. But true closeness is not being able to reach someone's phone. It is being able to reach their care. Distance is now emotional access, and sometimes the farthest person is the one standing right beside you. People can leave without moving. People can leave your life while still standing inside it. They may still live in the same house, sit at the same table, answer your calls, share your routine, or appear in your messages, but something in them has already withdrawn. Their body remains close, yet their attention, warmth, effort, honesty, and emotional presence have quietly moved somewhere else. This is what makes emotional absence so painful. It is harder to grieve someone who is still physically there. You cannot point to a clear goodbye. You cannot say they disappeared completely. They still speak, still function, still respond, but the part of them that used to reach for you feels missing. The connection becomes a place where someone is present enough to confuse you, but absent enough to hurt you. The strange part is that people often leave gradually. First, They stop asking deeper questions. Then they stop noticing small changes. Then their replies become shorter, their patience thinner, their affection weaker, their interest forced. Nothing dramatic happens at once, so you keep doubting your own pain. You tell yourself they are busy, tired, stressed, distracted, or going through something. Sometimes that may be true, but sometimes distance has already entered before honesty does. People can leave through silence, avoidance, emotional laziness, hidden resentment, divided attention, or loss of care. They do not have to pack a bag to abandon a bond. They only have to stop showing up with the part of themselves that made the relationship feel alive. And that is why someone can be near you every day, yet make you feel like you are missing them already. Being ignored can feel like an event. Being ignored can hurt because it feels like something happened, even when nothing visibly happened. No argument occurred. No insult was spoken. No door slammed. No clear rejection was announced. Yet inside your body, the silence can land like a message. The absence becomes active. The lack of response starts feeling like proof. This is what makes being ignored so emotionally disturbing. It turns emptiness into information. A message left unanswered can become a whole story. A greeting not returned can become humiliation. A person looking past you can make you feel erased. Someone withdrawing attention can make your nervous system search for what you did wrong, what changed, what you missed, or why you were suddenly not worth noticing. The strange part is that ignoring works by doing nothing. That is what gives it power. It denies you something to respond to directly. If someone insults you, you can answer. If someone explains, you can understand. But when they ignore you, your mind is left alone with the gap, and the mind hates gaps. It fills them with fear, shame, anger, memory, and imagined reasons. Being ignored can feel especially painful when attention once existed. The body remembers being seen, answered, chosen, or welcomed. So when that attention disappears, the loss feels personal. Not because silence always means rejection, but because your nervous system experiences sudden emotional distance as danger. This is why being ignored can feel like an event. It is not the silence alone that hurts. It is the meaning your mind builds inside it, and the painful feeling that someone made your presence feel optional. Love can feel like home in danger. Love can feel like the safest place in the world and the most terrifying place to lose. This is what makes it so emotionally powerful. When love feels steady, it can calm the body, soften the mind, and make life feel less heavy. One person's presence can become shelter. Their voice can feel familiar. Their attention can make you feel chosen. Their care can make the world seem less hostile. But love can also become danger when the heart attaches deeply to someone who may leave, change, disappoint, betray, reject, or stop choosing you. The same person who makes you feel safe can also become the person whose silence shakes you. Their mood can affect your peace. Their distance can make your body panic. Their approval can feel like warmth, and their withdrawal can feel like emotional cold. This is why love can confuse the nervous system. It gives comfort and vulnerability at the same time. To love someone is to let them matter enough that their actions can reach places inside you that others cannot touch. You become open, and openness can feel beautiful until it feels unsafe. The strange part is that some people mistake intensity for love because danger feels more familiar than peace. If love has often been mixed with fear, uncertainty, or emotional chasing, calm affection may feel strange. The body may call chaos passion because chaos is what it recognizes. Love feels like home when it offers safety, honesty, consistency, and care. It feels like danger when it becomes unpredictable, one-sided, or tied to fear of loss. The same emotion that opens you can also expose how deeply you fear being abandoned. Attachment turns messages into weather. Attachment can turn simple messages into emotional weather. A text is no longer just words on a screen. It becomes sunshine, storm, cold air, relief, fear, hope, or heaviness, depending on who sent it, how fast they replied, what they said, and what you were secretly needing from them. This is why one message can brighten your whole day, while one dry reply can make everything feel wrong. The phone lights up, and your body reacts before your mind fully reads the words. If the person matters deeply, their attention can feel like warmth. Their silence can feel like winter. Their delay can feel like clouds gathering over your nervous system. The strange part is that attachment gives ordinary communication emotional power. A good morning from one person may feel normal, but from someone you crave closeness with, it can feel like proof that you still matter. A short, okay, from anyone else may mean nothing, but from someone you fear losing, it can feel like distance, anger, or fading love. Attachment makes the mind search for hidden meaning in timing, punctuation, tone, emojis, and absence. You begin reading between lines that may not even exist. You ask why they replied like that, why they stopped typing, why they viewed and left, why they sounded different. The message becomes less about language and more about emotional survival. This is why attachment can be exhausting. Your inner peace becomes tied to someone else's communication pattern. Their phone habits become your mood forecast. When you are deeply attached, messages do not simply arrive. They change the climate inside you. A late reply can shake the body. A late reply can feel small from the outside, but inside the body, it can create a real emotional reaction. The phone stays quiet, the message remains unanswered, and suddenly your nervous system begins searching for danger. Nothing has been said, yet your body may tighten as if something has already happened. This is what makes delayed responses so powerful. They create a gap, and the mind hates gaps when attachment is involved. In that empty space, your thoughts begin building explanations. Maybe they are angry. Maybe they lost interest. Maybe you said too much. Maybe they are with someone else. Maybe you are no longer important. The longer the silence stretches, the more your body treats uncertainty like threat. The strange part is that a late reply can affect you physically before you fully understand why. Your chest may feel heavy, your stomach may drop, your focus may break. You may check your phone again and again, not because the phone has changed, but because your body wants relief. It wants the message that says, you are safe, nothing is wrong, you still matter. This is why modern communication can feel emotionally dangerous. People can disturb your peace without doing anything directly. Their absence of response becomes a signal your nervous system tries to decode. A late reply does not always mean rejection, but attachment can make it feel like one. When someone's response becomes your emotional proof, their delay becomes more than waiting. It becomes a test your body never agreed to take. Uncertainty can become addictive. Uncertainty can become addictive when your nervous system gets used to chasing answers instead of resting in peace. At first, not knowing feels painful. You want clarity, reassurance, proof, response, direction, or a final sign. But when uncertainty repeats often enough, the body begins to confuse emotional tension with connection, excitement, or meaning. This is why some people feel strangely drawn to situations that keep them guessing. A person who is warm today and distant tomorrow can become more addictive than someone who is steady. A relationship with unclear signals can feel more intense than one with honest communication. A dream that almost works, a message that almost comes, a promise that almost becomes real can keep the mind hooked because the answer always feels close. The strange part is that uncertainty creates a cycle of pain and relief. The silence hurts, then the reply feels powerful. The distance scares you, then the attention feels like rescue. The confusion drains you, then one small sign gives your body a temporary high. Over time, you may stop craving peace and start craving the relief that comes after emotional tension. This is how the nervous system can become loyal to instability. It does not mean you truly enjoy suffering. It means your body has learned to survive through waiting, hoping, checking, interpreting, and chasing emotional crumbs. Uncertainty becomes dangerous when it starts feeling deeper than stability. Calm begins to feel boring. Consistency begins to feel suspicious. Peace feels empty because there is no emotional storm to solve. But what feels addictive is not always love, destiny, or passion. Sometimes it is your body mistaking unpredictability for importance. Closure is the mind hating unfinished patterns. Closure feels so necessary because the mind hates unfinished patterns. It wants endings to make sense. It wants the last conversation, the final reason, the missing explanation, the truth behind the silence, the meaning behind the change, and the answer that finally makes pain feel organized. When something ends without clarity, the mind keeps circling it like a door left half open. This is why unresolved situations can feel louder than finished ones. A relationship that ended clearly may hurt, but at least the mind knows where to place it. But when someone disappears, changes suddenly, lies, withdraws, or leaves you with mixed signals, the mind keeps searching for the missing piece. It replays old messages, it studies tone, it remembers small signs. It asks what you missed, what you caused, what they meant, and why the story ended without a clean ending. The strange part is that closure is often less about the other person and more about the brain trying to stop emotional looping. The mind believes that if it can find the right explanation, the pain will finally rest. But sometimes no explanation is complete enough to satisfy a wound that wanted care, not information. Unfinished patterns become heavy because they keep your attention trapped in a story that refuses to close. The body stays alert, waiting for an answer that may never arrive. Closure is powerful, but dangerous when you believe only another person can give it to you. Sometimes closure is not receiving the missing sentence. Sometimes it is accepting that the pattern is unfinished because the person was unable, unwilling, or unsafe enough to finish it with honesty. Sometimes you miss who you were with them. Sometimes the person you miss is not only the person who left. Sometimes you miss the version of yourself that existed around them. You miss how open you felt, how hopeful you became, how easily you laughed, how deeply you believed, how alive ordinary moments seemed when their presence made you feel chosen. This is what makes missing someone so confusing. You may think you want them back, when part of you is really grieving the self that appeared beside them. Maybe you were softer then. Maybe you trusted more easily. Maybe you felt beautiful, needed, understood, protected, or exciting in a way you have not felt since. Their absence hurts because it did not only remove a person, it removed a mirror that once showed you a version of yourself you loved. The strange part is that people can become attached to the identity a relationship gave them. With one person, you felt important. With another, you felt adventurous. With another, you felt safe. When they leave, the mind may believe that version of you disappeared with them. So you chase the person, not realizing you are also chasing access to an old emotional state. This is why healing from someone can feel like losing yourself twice. First, you lose them. Then you lose the person you became when they were near. The memories hurt because they contain both faces, theirs and yours. but the version of you that existed with them was never fully owned by them. They may have awakened it, reflected it, or touched it, but they did not create it from nothing. Somewhere inside you, that self still waits to be reached again. Memory can hurt more than the moment. Memory can hurt more than the moment because the mind does not simply remember pain, it returns to it with new meaning. When something first happens, you may be too shocked, distracted, hopeful, confused, or emotionally numb to feel its full weight. You survive the moment first. You understand it later. This is why a conversation may hurt more after you replay it. At the time, you only heard the words. Later, you hear the tone, the distance, the hidden disrespect, the truth you ignored, or the goodbye that was already forming inside it. The moment was brief, but memory gives it space to expand. The strange part is that memory adds layers the original experience did not fully carry. Regret asks what you should have done. Shame asks why you allowed it. Love asks why it ended. Anger asks why you did not see it sooner. Grief asks why something so ordinary became impossible to return to. The past becomes heavier because your present self keeps entering it with questions. A small memory can also hurt because it now represents something larger. One laugh becomes proof of what you lost. One room becomes a reminder of who you were. One message becomes evidence of a time when things still felt safe. The moment itself may have been simple, but memory turns it into a doorway. This is why healing is not only about what happened. It is about what the mind keeps doing with what happened. Sometimes the wound is no longer the event. It is the meaning. Memory keeps giving it every time you return. Healing feels strange when pain became identity. Healing can feel strange when pain has been part of you for so long that you no longer recognize yourself without it. At first, the wound was something that happened to you. Then it became something you carried. Then, quietly, it became something you used to explain who you were, why you reacted that way, why you expected disappointment, why you stayed guarded, why you stopped trusting peace. This is what makes healing uncomfortable. It does not only remove pain, it also threatens the identity that grew around pain. If you have known yourself as the abandoned one, the betrayed one, the strong one, the unlucky one, the misunderstood one, or the person who always has to survive, then peace may feel unfamiliar. A calm life may feel empty. Safe people may feel suspicious. Progress may feel fake because your nervous system is used to recognizing yourself through struggle. The strange part is that people can become loyal to suffering, not because they love suffering, but because suffering became familiar. Pain gave them a story. It explained their fear. It justified their walls. It made their reactions feel understandable. Without it, they may wonder who they are. Healing asks you to release more than the wound. It asks you to release the version of yourself that was built to survive it. That can feel like losing control, even when you are gaining freedom. This is why peace may feel uncomfortable at first. Your body is not used to life without emotional alarms. Healing feels strange because you are meeting a self that does not need pain to feel real anymore. You can outgrow a life that looks successful. You can outgrow a life that still looks good from the outside. The job, relationship, routine, image, circle, title, home, or achievement may still impress other people, but inside you, something no longer fits. What once felt like progress can begin to feel like a costume. What once gave you pride can begin to feel like a place you have quietly outlived. This is what makes growth so confusing. People may look at your life and think you should be grateful. They may see stability, comfort, respect, or success, while you feel restless, tired, unseen, or emotionally distant from the person you had to become to keep that life running. From the outside, it may look like you are winning. Inside, it may feel like you are disappearing. The strange part is that success can become a cage when it no longer matches your truth. A life can reward you and still shrink you. A role can give you status and still drain your spirit. A relationship can look admirable and still leave you lonely. A dream can come true and still reveal that it belonged to an older version of you. This is why outgrowing success can feel guilty. You may question yourself because nothing is clearly wrong. But sometimes the problem is not failure. Sometimes the problem is that your soul has moved while your life is still arranged around who you used to be. Outgrowing a life does not mean it was fake. It means it served one version of you, but cannot hold the next one. You can be surrounded and unseen. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely unseen. A room can be full of voices, laughter, movement, greetings, and familiar faces, yet something inside you still feels untouched. People may know your name, your role, your habits, your face, and your usual answers, but not the weight you are carrying behind them. This is what makes being unseen so painful. It is not always the absence of people. Sometimes it is the absence of recognition. Someone can sit beside you and never notice that your smile is thinner than usual. They can hear you speak and never hear what you are avoiding. They can ask, "How are you?" and still not create enough safety for the truth to come out. The strange part is that social closeness can hide emotional distance. You may be useful to people, entertaining to them, available to them, or needed by them, but still not deeply known. They may love what you provide, but not understand what it costs you. They may enjoy your presence, but never ask what your silence means. This is why crowded loneliness can hurt more than being physically alone. When you are alone, the emptiness is clear. But when you are surrounded and still unseen, the mind begins asking why no one notices. You start wondering if your pain is too quiet, your needs too inconvenient, or your real self too hidden to matter. Being seen is not just being looked at, it is being felt, understood, noticed, and held in someone's awareness without having to perform for attention. Loneliness is lack of recognition. Loneliness is not always caused by having no one around. Sometimes loneliness comes from being around people who do not truly recognize you. They see your face, hear your words, know your routine, and maybe even call you close, but they do not notice the deeper parts of you. They do not feel the sadness behind your silence, the effort behind your smile, the exhaustion behind your patience, or the fear behind your calmness. This is what makes loneliness so painful. It is not just wanting company. It is wanting someone to understand your inner world without forcing you to translate every wound. You may have people to talk to, but no one who truly listens. You may receive replies, but no real presence. You may be included in conversations, but still feel like the real you is standing outside the room. The strange part is that recognition makes people feel real. When someone notices your change in tone, remembers what matters to you, understands what you did not say, or sees through your performance, something inside you softens. You feel less invisible. You feel like your existence has landed somewhere. Without recognition, even love can feel incomplete. People may care about you in their own way, but if they do not see you clearly, the heart still feels alone. You can be needed and still be lonely. You can be admired and still be lonely. You can be surrounded and still feel untouched. Loneliness begins to lift when someone does more than occupy space near you. They recognize the person hiding beneath the version you had to become. Familiar places can suddenly feel foreign. A familiar place can suddenly feel foreign when something inside you changes. The street may be the same, the room may be the same, the furniture may still sit where it always sat, and the air may carry the same ordinary sounds, but your body no longer enters it with the same feeling. The place did not move. The person walking into it did. This is what makes emotional change so strange. A home can stop feeling like home after loss. A school can feel different after embarrassment. A workplace can feel cold after betrayal. A bedroom can become heavy after too many nights of overthinking. A favorite road can feel unfamiliar after the person you used to call there is no longer part of your life. The location stays, but the meaning attached to it breaks. The strange part is that places hold emotional associations. Your mind ties memories to walls, corners, smells, sounds, and light. You may not consciously think about what happened there, but your body remembers. It can tighten before you understand why. It can feel uneasy in a place everyone else calls normal. It can miss someone the moment you enter a space where they once belonged. Familiar places feel foreign when your inner story no longer matches the outer scene. You are seeing the same place through a different wound, a different truth, or a different stage of growth. That is why returning can feel unreal. You expect the place to bring back the old feeling, but it cannot. The place is still there, but the version of you that made it familiar has changed. Growing up reveals adults were guessing too. Growing up can feel like discovering that the people who seemed certain were also trying to survive without full instructions. As a child, adults can look powerful, stable, and almost all-knowing. They make rules, pay bills, give warnings, solve problems, drive cars, raise families, and speak as if life is already clear to them. You believe they know exactly what they are doing because their confidence feels bigger than your questions. Then you become older, and the illusion begins to crack. You realize many adults were making decisions while afraid. They were raising children while healing from their own childhoods. They were giving advice they had not fully mastered. They were choosing careers without knowing where life would lead. They were staying calm in front of you while carrying debts, grief, confusion, disappointment, and private doubts. This is what makes adulthood feel strange. You reach the age where you expected certainty to arrive, but instead, you find more responsibility sitting beside more uncertainty. You realize no magical wisdom appears overnight. People often learn by failing, correcting, pretending, trying again, and hoping their choices do not damage too much. The strange part is that this realization can create both sadness and freedom. Sadness because some adults you trusted may not have been as prepared as you needed them to be. Freedom because you stop believing everyone else has life figured out while you alone are lost. Growing up reveals that adulthood is not the end of guessing. It is learning how to move forward while guessing with more honesty, more responsibility, and more courage than before. Maturity is quietly grieving illusions. Maturity is not only becoming wiser. Sometimes it is quietly grieving the illusions you once needed in order to feel safe. You begin life believing certain things because they make the world easier to understand. You believe love will always be fair, adults always know better, effort always gets rewarded, good people are always protected, and people who care about you will never hurt you deeply. Then life begins to teach you slowly, and sometimes painfully, that reality is more complicated. You learn that love can exist with weakness. Family can fail you. Friends can change. Hard work can be ignored. Kindness can be taken for granted. Apologies may never come. Some people will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you explain yourself. Some endings will never make perfect sense. This is what makes maturity feel heavy. You're not only gaining knowledge, you are losing innocence. You are letting go of the version of the world you hoped was true. You are grieving the belief that being good guarantees being treated well. You are grieving the fantasy that everyone eventually sees the truth. You are grieving the idea that closure always arrives cleanly. The strange part is that this grief often happens quietly. No one sees you release an old expectation. No one claps when you stop waiting for someone to become who you needed. No one notices when your heart becomes calmer because it finally stopped arguing with reality. Maturity is learning to live without needing life to match your old illusions. It is painful, but it also makes you steadier. You stop demanding that reality become innocent again, and you begin meeting it with clearer eyes. Peace feels boring after chaos. Peace can feel boring when your body has spent too long surviving chaos. If you are used to tension, uncertainty, emotional highs, sudden distance, conflict, chasing, apologizing, overthinking, and waiting for something to go wrong, calmness may not feel like safety at first. It may feel empty, it may feel strange, it may even feel like something is missing. This is what makes healing confusing. The mind says it wants peace, but the nervous system may still be addicted to intensity. When life becomes quiet, the body begins searching for the familiar storm. It wonders where the problem is. It waits for the mood to change, the message to turn cold, the person to leave, the argument to start, or the disappointment to appear. Peace feels suspicious because chaos trained you to stay alert. The strange part is that chaos can feel meaningful when it has been repeated for long enough. A relationship full of uncertainty can feel passionate. A life full of pressure can feel productive. A mind full of worry can feel responsible. So when peace finally arrives, it may feel too simple to trust. No drama, no emotional chase, no crisis to solve, no fear proving that something matters. But peace is not boring because it lacks value. It feels boring because your body is learning a slower rhythm. Calmness does not shout like chaos. It does not demand your attention every second. It gives you space, and at first, that space can feel uncomfortable. Peace becomes beautiful only after your nervous system stops mistaking intensity for aliveness. It is not emptiness. It is the absence of constant emotional threat. The mind may prefer familiar pain. The mind may prefer familiar pain because familiar pain feels predictable. It may hurt, but at least it is known. You understand its shape, its timing, its emotional language, and the role you usually play inside it. Unknown freedom, on the other hand, can feel frightening because it asks you to live without the old script. This is why people sometimes return to situations that wounded them, not because the pain was good, but because the nervous system recognizes it. A toxic relationship can feel familiar. Being ignored can feel familiar. Begging for love can feel familiar. Feeling overlooked, anxious, responsible, guilty, or not enough can feel familiar. The body says, I know how to survive this, even when the soul is tired of surviving it. The strange part is that peace can feel more threatening than pain when pain has been your normal. A stable person may feel boring. A safe environment may feel suspicious. A calm season may make you restless. You may start looking for problems, not because you want suffering, but because your mind does not yet trust a life without emotional danger. Familiar pain also protects identity. If you have always known yourself as the person who endures, fixes, waits, chases, or survives, then freedom may feel like losing the version of yourself you understand. The old pain gives you a role. Freedom asks you to become someone new. This is why healing requires patience. You are not only leaving what hurt you, you are teaching your mind that unfamiliar peace is not a threat. Sometimes the hardest prison to leave is the one your nervous system calls home. Comfort zones can be decorated cages. Comfort zones can feel safe because they are familiar, predictable, and easy to explain. You know the rules there. You know what to expect. You know how much of yourself to show, how much to hide, what risks to avoid, and what dreams to delay. From the inside, it may look like peace, but sometimes what you call comfort is only a cage you have learned how to decorate. This is what makes comfort zones dangerous. They rarely look like prisons at first. They can look like routine, responsibility, loyalty, patience, realism, or wisdom. You may tell yourself you are being careful when you are actually afraid. You may tell yourself you are waiting for the right time when you are avoiding the discomfort of beginning. You may tell yourself you are content when a quieter part of you knows you have stopped growing. The strange part is that cages become harder to notice when they are familiar. If everyone around you lives the same way, your limits begin to look normal. If your fear has been with you long enough, it starts sounding like logic. If your small life has been comfortable long enough, expansion starts feeling like danger. A decorated cage can have beauty, approval, and convenience, but still keep you from becoming fully alive. It may protect you from failure, but it also protects you from discovery. It may protect you from rejection, but also from real connection. Comfort is not always the enemy, but when comfort demands that you shrink, silence your desires, and call fear maturity, it has stopped being safety. It has become a cage with soft walls. Fear often disguises itself as logic. Fear rarely introduces itself as fear. It often arrives sounding intelligent, careful, mature, realistic, and responsible. It does not always say, "I am scared." Instead, it says, "Be practical." It says, "Do not try yet." It says, "What if it fails?" It says, "You are not ready." It says, "People like you do not get opportunities like that." Because it sounds reasonable, you may obey it without realizing you are being controlled by fear. This is what makes fear so difficult to detect. It can borrow the voice of wisdom. It can use past disappointments as evidence. It can remind you of every time you were rejected, embarrassed, ignored, betrayed, or wrong. Then it builds a case against your next step and calls that case logic. The strange part is that fear can make shrinking feel smart. Staying silent feels safer than speaking. Delaying feels wiser than beginning. Avoiding feels more responsible than risking. Settling feels more stable than reaching. You may think you are protecting yourself, but you may actually be building a life around what wounded you. Fear becomes especially convincing when it mixes truth with exaggeration. Yes, failure is possible. Yes, people may judge. Yes, change may be uncomfortable. But fear turns possibility into certainty. It makes one risk look like disaster. It makes one uncertain path look like proof that you should never move. Real logic helps you see clearly. Fear dressed as logic keeps you small. The difference is simple but painful. Logic prepares you for life. Fear tries to stop you from entering it. Overthinking pretends to be preparation. Overthinking often feels responsible because it looks like you are preparing. You replay conversations, predict outcomes, study every possibility, imagine every mistake, and search for the hidden danger before it arrives. The mind tells you it is helping. It says, "If I think long enough, I will be ready. If I examine every angle, I will not be hurt. If I prepare for every disaster, life will not surprise me." This is what makes overthinking so convincing. It wears the costume of wisdom. It makes fear look productive. You may sit still for hours while your mind runs in circles, and it can feel like you are doing something important. But often, you are not preparing. You are rehearsing pain before it happens. The strange part is that overthinking rarely gives peace. It gives temporary control, then creates more questions. One answer leads to another worry. One possible outcome creates 5 more. Instead of making life clearer, it makes everything feel heavier. The mind keeps digging, not because truth is buried deeper, but because uncertainty makes the body uncomfortable. Overthinking can also become a way to avoid action. As long as you are analyzing, you do not have to choose. As long as you are predicting, you do not have to risk. As long as you are preparing, you can delay the moment where life asks you to move. Real preparation gives direction. Overthinking gives exhaustion. Preparation says, here is what I can do. Overthinking says, here is everything that could go wrong. One supports your life. The other traps you inside a future that may never happen. Worry feels useful because it is active. Worry feels useful because it gives fear something to do. Instead of sitting with uncertainty, the mind begins moving. It predicts, calculates, rehearses, checks, questions, compares, and prepares for possible pain. From the outside, nothing may be happening, but inside, worry creates the feeling of activity. It convinces you that because your mind is busy, you must be protecting yourself. This is what makes worry so deceptive. It can feel like responsibility. You may think, if I worry enough, I will not be caught off guard. You may believe worrying proves you care, proves you are serious, proves you are paying attention. A parent worries and calls it love. A student worries and calls it ambition. A partner worries and calls it loyalty. A dreamer worries and calls it planning. The strange part is that worry often gives the illusion of control without giving real power. It lets you emotionally visit every possible disaster, but it does not always change the outcome. It may make you feel prepared, but often leaves you drained before anything has happened. Your body suffers as if the future has already arrived, while the present loses your full attention. Worry also becomes addictive because stopping can feel careless. If you are not worrying, your mind may accuse you of being irresponsible. Peace begins to feel unsafe, as if calmness will make something bad happen faster. But worry is not always wisdom. Sometimes it is fear performing productivity. It moves constantly, but not always forward. It keeps your mind active enough to feel useful, while quietly stealing the rest, clarity, and strength you actually need. Regret tries to edit the past. Regret is the mind trying to return to a moment that can no longer be changed. It reopens old conversations, old choices, old mistakes, old delays, old trust, old silence, and old decisions, hoping that if it studies them long enough, it can somehow create a different ending. But the past does not reopen. Only the pain does. This is what makes regret so heavy. It gives you the feeling of action while keeping you trapped in something finished. You think about what you should have said, who you should have left, what you should have noticed, where you should have gone, how you should have responded, and why you did not know then what you know now. The mind keeps editing the scene, but the scene has already ended. The strange part is that regret often becomes cruel because it judges your past self with present wisdom. It forgets that the person you were then did not have today's clarity. They were acting with their old fears, old hope, old wounds, old information, and old level of strength. They may have made mistakes, but they were not holding the full truth you are holding now. Regret can teach, but it becomes dangerous when it turns into punishment. A lesson helps you move differently. Punishment keeps you kneeling before a version of life that cannot answer back. Regret tries to edit the past because acceptance feels too final. But healing begins when you stop asking yesterday to become different and start using what it taught you to stop abandoning today. Shame makes you feel watched. Shame has a strange way of making you feel exposed, even when no one is looking. It turns your own mind into an audience. You may be alone in a room, walking down a street, sitting in silence, or remembering something from years ago. Yet your body reacts as if people are watching, judging, whispering, and measuring you. This is what makes shame so painful. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, something is wrong with me. It does not only focus on an action, it attacks identity. It makes one mistake feel like your whole character, one rejection feel like proof you are unwanted, one embarrassing moment feel like something everyone remembers, even when most people have moved on. The strange part is that shame can create an invisible spotlight. You begin monitoring your voice, your face, your body, your words, your past, your needs, and your emotions. You become afraid of being too much, not enough, too loud, too quiet, too needy, too awkward, too visible. Shame makes ordinary existence feel like performance under judgment. Shame also isolates because it convinces you to hide the very parts that need kindness. You stay silent because you fear exposure. You pretend because honesty feels risky. You withdraw because being seen feels dangerous. But shame often lies about how closely the world is watching. Many people are too busy surviving their own private battles to study yours. Yet shame keeps replaying the imagined audience. It makes you feel watched because it has turned your own wounded self-perception into a crowd you cannot escape. Confidence is proof. You survived discomfort. Confidence is not always born from feeling ready. Many times, confidence is built from surviving discomfort and realizing it did not destroy you. You spoke while nervous. You showed up while unsure. You tried while afraid. You failed and still remained alive. You were judged and still continued. You were rejected and still found strength afterward. Each uncomfortable moment left behind evidence that you could survive more than your fear predicted. This is what makes real confidence different from appearance. Some people look confident because they are loud, polished, attractive, popular, or socially smooth. But deeper confidence comes from experience. It comes from walking through situations that once scared you and discovering that discomfort is not death. Embarrassment past, anxiety past, awkwardness past. The moment you feared became a memory, and you were still here. The strange part is that people often wait to feel confident before they act, not realizing confidence usually arrives after action. The body needs proof. It needs repeated evidence that speaking, trying, leaving, beginning, asking, creating, and standing alone will not ruin you. Every time you face discomfort and remain standing, your nervous system updates its belief about what you can handle. Confidence grows when fear loses its ability to convince you that discomfort is danger. You may still feel nervous, but nervousness no longer controls the decision. You may still feel uncertain, but uncertainty no longer becomes a wall. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the memory of survival. It is your body saying, I have been uncomfortable before and I made it through. Identity is the story you repeat. Identity is not only who you are, it is also the story you keep repeating about who you are. Every time you say, I am this kind of person, I always fail, I never get chosen, I cannot change, I am too damaged, I am strong, I am unlucky, or I am not enough. You are not just describing yourself. You are training your mind to recognize that story as home. This is what makes identity powerful. The brain loves familiar stories because they give life structure. Even painful stories can feel safe when they are repeated long enough. If you keep telling yourself, you are the rejected one, you begin noticing rejection everywhere. If you keep telling yourself you are not capable, you begin avoiding situations that could prove otherwise. If you keep telling yourself people always leave, you may start seeing distance even where patience exists. The strange part is that identity can become a prison built from language. A sentence you repeated for years can feel like truth, even if it began as a wound, someone else's judgment, or a survival response from a painful season. You may call it personality, when it is actually a story that became too familiar to question. But if identity is shaped by repetition, it can also be reshaped by new repetition, not through empty pretending, but through small choices that give your mind new evidence. Every time you act differently, speak differently, choose differently, or refuse the old pattern, you weaken the old story. You become what you repeatedly believe, rehearse, defend, and prove to yourself. Identity is the story you keep feeding until it feels like you. Change feels strange because the old self mattered. Change can feel strange because you are not only becoming someone new, you are also leaving behind someone who helped you survive. The old version of you may have been afraid, wounded, defensive, silent, needy, angry, avoidant, or unsure, but that version still carried you through seasons you did not know how to escape. This is what makes growth emotional. People often talk about change as if it should feel exciting, but sometimes it feels like grief. You stop reacting the same way. You stop needing the same approval. You stop accepting the same treatment. You stop chasing the same people. You stop fitting into rooms where your old self once knew exactly how to behave. Freedom comes, but familiarity leaves. The strange part is that the old self may resist disappearing because it mattered. It had reasons. It protected you from rejection, embarrassment, abandonment, disappointment, or danger in the only way it understood. Maybe it over-explained because silence once cost too much. Maybe it trusted no one because trust once hurt. Maybe it pleased people because conflict once felt unsafe. Those patterns may no longer serve you, but they were not meaningless. This is why change can feel like betrayal at first. A part of you wonders, if I become different, was the old me wrong? But growth does not mean your old self was worthless. It means that version carried you as far as it could. Change feels strange because you are learning to honor who you were without letting that version control who you become next. You can stay loyal to an old self. You can stay loyal to an old self long after that version of you has stopped helping you. The old self may have been built in pain, fear, rejection, survival, disappointment, or pressure, but because it carried you through something difficult, you may feel guilty outgrowing it. You may keep protecting habits, beliefs, reactions, and limits that once saved you, even when they now keep you small. This is what makes growth difficult. A part of you may know it is time to change, but another part still feels attached to who you had to become. You may stay loyal to the quiet self who learned not to ask for much, the guarded self who stopped trusting, the people-pleasing self who avoided conflict, the angry self who used hardness as armor, the independent self who learned not to need anyone. The strange part is that old identities can feel like proof of survival. Letting them go may feel like disrespecting what you endured. If pain shaped you, releasing the pain story can feel like saying it did not matter. If struggle gave you strength, peace may feel like betrayal. If your old self fought hard to keep you alive emotionally, becoming softer may feel unsafe. But loyalty becomes dangerous when it keeps you tied to a version of you that was only meant to be temporary. Survival patterns are not always life plans. Some versions of you were bridges, not homes. You can honor the old self without obeying it forever. The version that protected you deserves gratitude, but not permanent control over the life you are still becoming. Dreams die when attention leaves. Dreams do not always die suddenly. Many die quietly when attention leaves them. No dramatic failure, no public embarrassment, no final announcement, no clear ending. Just one postponed step, then another. One ignored idea, one delayed decision, one excuse that sounds reasonable, one busy season that never truly ends. Slowly the dream stops receiving energy, and what is not fed begins to fade. This is what makes abandoned dreams so painful. They often remain alive in the imagination long after they have disappeared from action. You still think about the book, the business, the skill, the journey, the body of work, the life change, the person you wanted to become. But thinking about a dream is not the same as keeping it alive. Attention must become movement, or the dream becomes a beautiful ghost. The strange part is that people rarely notice when neglect becomes surrender. They say, "I will start soon," "I am not ready," "I need more time," "Life is too busy," or "maybe later." At first, those words feel temporary, but repeated long enough, later becomes a graveyard where dreams are buried without ceremony. A dream survives when it keeps receiving focus, time, courage, and small proof. It does not need perfect conditions. It needs continued contact. Even a tiny daily action tells the dream, "You still matter." Dreams die when attention leaves because attention is emotional oxygen. What you stop looking at, planning for, practicing, protecting, or believing in slowly loses its place in your future. The dream may still exist somewhere inside you, but without attention, it stops becoming real. New lives begin after permission ends. New lives often begin the moment you stop waiting for permission to become different. For a long time, you may delay your own growth because some part of you is still waiting to be approved, understood, accepted, forgiven, chosen, or released by someone else. You wait for people to agree with your change before you allow yourself to move. This is what makes permission so powerful. It can feel invisible, yet it controls decisions. You may stay in a small life because you fear disappointing family. You may silence your desire because people are used to the old version of you. You may delay a dream because no one clapped when you mentioned it. You may keep explaining yourself because you still believe someone else must validate your reason before it becomes real. The strange part is that many people do not realize they are waiting. They call it patience, wisdom, timing, loyalty, or being realistic. But underneath, they are asking, will they be okay with me becoming someone they did not expect? That question can steal years. Permission ends when you understand that your life cannot be built only around other people's comfort. Not everyone will understand your change. Some people benefited from your old limits. Some people loved the version of you that made them comfortable. Some people will call your growth selfish because they preferred your silence. A new life begins when you stop asking the old room whether you are allowed to leave it. You may still feel afraid, but fear no longer gets the final signature. Freedom starts when your own becoming becomes permission enough. Impossible often means unfamiliar. Impossible often means unfamiliar. Many things feel impossible, not because they truly cannot be done, but because your mind has no evidence yet that they can belong to you. The life you want, the confidence you admire, the discipline you avoid, the peace you crave, the boundary you fear setting, or the dream you keep delaying may feel unreachable simply because your nervous system has never lived there before. This is what makes the unfamiliar so powerful. The mind treats what it does not know as danger. If you have always struggled, ease may feel unrealistic. If you have always been ignored, being valued may feel suspicious. If you have always survived with little, wanting more may feel greedy. If you have always doubted yourself, confidence may feel like pretending. The unknown becomes frightening because there is no old map for it. The strange part is that people often confuse lack of experience with lack of ability. They say, "I cannot do this," when the truth may be, "I have not done this enough for it to feel natural." They call something impossible because the first step feels awkward, the first attempt feels weak, and the first version of themselves inside that new life feels uncomfortable. But unfamiliar does not mean forbidden. It means your mind has not adjusted yet. Every skill, relationship, identity, place, and level of courage was once strange before it became normal. Impossible begins to shrink when you give your mind new evidence. One attempt becomes proof. One small success becomes a crack in the old belief. What once felt impossible slowly becomes unfamiliar, then possible, then ordinary. One decision creates invisible timelines. One decision can quietly split your life into timelines you will never fully see. You choose one school, one job, one person, one city, one message, one apology, one silence, one yes, one no, and suddenly a whole version of your life begins while another disappears. The strange part is that most decisions do not feel historic when you make them. They feel ordinary, rushed, emotional, necessary, or small. This is what makes choice so unsettling. You rarely know which decision will become the doorway. A call you answer can lead to a relationship. A place you visit can change your direction. A message you send can reopen a bond. A boundary you set can end a pattern. A chance you ignore can become the life you later wonder about. Every choice carries hidden consequences that only reveal themselves after time has moved. The painful part is that you can never live all possible versions of yourself. Somewhere in imagination, there is a you who stayed, a you who left, a you who spoke, a you who stayed silent, a you who trusted, a you who protected their peace earlier. Those versions are not real, but they can still haunt you when regret begins asking what life might have become. A decision creates invisible timelines, because choosing one path means surrendering others. Even not choosing is a choice that builds its own future. This is why your life can change before you realize it is changing. One moment becomes a hinge. One decision becomes a hidden door. And after you walk through it, the old timeline closes quietly behind you. Every choice deletes other lives. Every choice gives you one life while quietly deleting others. When you choose one path, you are also choosing not to live the versions that existed on the other side. One school means another school disappears. One relationship means other possibilities close. One city means another version of you never forms there. One yes removes the life that could have followed no. One silence removes the life that could have followed honesty. This is what makes choice feel so heavy when you truly think about it. Most decisions do not only create outcomes, they erase alternatives. The person you might have become if you stayed, the peace you might have found if you left earlier, the friendship that might have grown if you reached out, the opportunity that might have opened if you tried. These lives are not fully real, but the mind can still feel their absence. The strange part is that you cannot know the value of the lives you did not choose. The rejected path may have hurt you, it may have saved you, it may have bored you, it may have transformed you. Because you never lived it, imagination fills the empty space. Regret makes it look better. Fear makes it look worse. Nostalgia makes it glow. Every choice deletes other lives because time only lets you walk one direction at once. You cannot become every possible self. You can only become the self your choices keep building. This is why peace requires accepting the invisible losses inside every decision. To choose anything deeply, you must allow many unlived lives to disappear without letting them haunt the one you are actually living. You live inside past choices. You are not only living today, you are living inside choices made by older versions of you, the habits you repeated, the people you trusted, the fears you obeyed, the chances you took, the chances you avoided, the words you spoke, the words you swallowed, the places you stayed, and the doors you refused to open have all helped build the life surrounding you now. This is what makes the present feel so strange. Much of what feels normal today was once a decision. Your routine was once a repeated action. Your confidence was once a risk. Your insecurity was once a wound that never got questioned. Your relationships were once introductions, replies, forgiveness, tolerance, or boundaries you did or did not set. The life you call ordinary may be the result of hundreds of small choices that slowly hardened into reality. The strange part is that past choices can keep speaking long after the moment has passed. One decision to ignore your needs can become years of self-abandonment. One decision to begin can become a whole new identity. One decision to stay silent can create distance. One decision to leave can create freedom. Choices do not always end when they are made. They echo. This can feel uncomfortable because it reveals how quietly life is constructed. You may look around and think, how did I get here? But many pieces of here were chosen, repeated, tolerated, avoided, delayed, or protected. You live inside past choices, but you are also creating the past your future self will inherit. What feels small today may become the room you live in tomorrow. Your future is shaped by today's tolerance. Your future is not only shaped by what you chase, it is also shaped by what you tolerate. The behavior you excuse, the disrespect you normalize, the fear you obey, the habit you keep feeding, the delay you keep accepting, the dream you keep postponing, and the pain you keep explaining away are all quietly building the life your future self will have to live inside. This is what makes tolerance so powerful. It feels passive in the moment, but it creates active consequences. Every time you accept less than you need, your life learns that less is allowed. Every time you ignore your own discomfort, your body learns that your peace can be traded. Every time you delay a necessary decision, the future becomes heavier with what today refused to confront. The strange part is that people often think change will arrive through one dramatic moment, but many futures are built through small permissions. You permit the same pattern one more time. You permit the same excuse. You permit the same self-doubt. You permit the same emotional neglect. Then one day, you wake up inside a life that feels unfair, not realizing it was shaped by things you kept allowing. Tolerance becomes dangerous when it teaches your life to expect your silence. What you do not correct may continue. What you do not question may deepen. What you keep making room for may eventually take over the room. Your future self is listening to what you accept today. Every boundary, choice, refusal, and act of self-respect is a message forward. It says, this is what our life is allowed to become. A normal morning can become history. A normal morning can become history without warning. You wake up, check the time, touch your phone, wash your face, hear familiar sounds, think ordinary thoughts, and move through the day as if it will be like every other day. Nothing announces itself. Nothing says, remember this. Yet later, that same morning may become the morning everything changed. This is what makes life feel so fragile. Many turning points arrive dressed as routine. The day you meet someone important may begin like any other day. The day you receive life-changing news may start with breakfast, traffic, messages, and small distractions. The day you lose something, gain something, leave somewhere, begin again, or hear words you never forget may not feel special at the beginning. The strange part is that people rarely recognize history while they are living it. They only recognize it afterward. A normal conversation becomes the last conversation. A casual goodbye becomes the final goodbye. A simple decision becomes the doorway into a different life. A morning you barely noticed becomes a date your memory returns to again and again. This is why ordinary moments deserve more respect than we give them. Life does not always separate important days from regular days. It hides powerful changes inside normal hours. It lets history begin while you are still thinking about small things. A normal morning can become history because life changes before the mind understands the weight of the moment. What feels forgettable now may later become the exact scene you replay, searching for signs you did not know were there. Life-changing moments rarely announce themselves. Life-changing moments rarely arrive with drama. They often come quietly, hidden inside ordinary conversations, small decisions, random meetings, delayed messages, sudden thoughts, casual invitations, uncomfortable truths, or simple moments you almost ignore. The moment does not always look powerful when it appears. Sometimes it only becomes powerful after time shows you what began there. This is what makes life feel strange. You may not know when you are meeting someone who will change your heart. You may not know when one sentence will shift your belief about yourself. You may not know when one choice will lead you into a future you never planned. You may not know when walking away, speaking honestly, saying yes, saying no, or staying silent will become the moment your life quietly turned. The strange part is that the mind expects important moments to feel different. It expects warning, music, signs, certainty, or some deep inner knowing. But life does not always give that. Sometimes your future begins while you are tired, distracted, afraid, bored, or unsure. Sometimes the most important door opens so normally that you almost walk past it. This is why looking back can feel unreal. You remember the day and wonder how you did not know. How did that simple meeting become love? How did that small decision become freedom? How did that painful ending become your beginning? Life-changing moments rarely announce themselves because life is always moving before meaning catches up. The moment arrives first. The understanding comes later, and by the time you realize what changed, you are already living inside the consequence. You rarely know the last time. You rarely know when you are doing something for the last time. The last hug may feel ordinary. The last conversation may feel rushed. The last laugh may happen in a room you expect to enter again. The last walk through a familiar place may feel like nothing special. Life does not always warn you when a moment is becoming final. This is what makes memory so painful. The mind looks back and searches for signs. You wonder why you did not stay longer, listen better, speak softer, look closer, or understand the weight of what was happening. But in the moment, it did not feel like an ending. It felt like another day, another call, another visit, another goodbye you assumed would be followed by another hello. The strange part is that endings often hide inside routines. You do not know the last time someone will sit beside you the same way. You do not know the last time a friendship will feel natural. You do not know the last time a place will feel like home before life changes its meaning. You do not know the last time your old self will exist before one truth, one loss, or one decision changes you. This is why ordinary moments become sacred later. They were not empty. You simply did not know they were closing. The pain comes from realizing that life gave you something precious without announcing it was temporary. You rarely know the last time because life keeps moving as if everything will repeat. Then one day, it does not, and memory becomes the only place the moment still lives. Ordinary things become sacred after loss. Ordinary things often become sacred only after loss teaches you they were never ordinary. A voice you heard every day, a chair someone always used, a cup left in the kitchen, a message thread, a familiar smell, a routine visit, a shared joke, a simple meal, or the sound of footsteps in the house can suddenly carry a weight you never noticed while life still felt normal. This is what makes loss so painful. It does not only take the person, place, season, or version of life away. It changes the meaning of everything connected to them. The small things that once blended into the background begin glowing with memory. You remember how they laughed, how they entered a room, how they said your name, how they complained, how they moved through ordinary days as if they would always be there. The strange part is that the mind often recognizes value after access is gone. While something is present, it feels guaranteed. You do not study every detail because you believe there will be more time, more calls, more mornings, more visits, more chances to ask, listen, forgive, thank, or stay a little longer. Then loss arrives, and the ordinary becomes holy. A shirt becomes evidence. A photo becomes a doorway. A place becomes emotional ground. A memory becomes something you hold carefully because it is all that remains of a moment you cannot re-enter. Ordinary things become sacred after loss because absence reveals what presence quietly gave you. What once felt normal becomes precious when you finally understand it was temporary, unrepeatable, and alive. Nostalgia proves normal was never normal. Nostalgia proves that normal was never truly normal. It was only familiar while you were living inside it. The ordinary street, the old room, the regular voice, the simple meal, the routine visit, the song playing in the background, the people sitting around like they would always be there, all felt common at the time because your mind had not yet learned they could disappear. This is what makes nostalgia so emotional. It turns the past into something glowing, not always because everything was perfect, but because it is unreachable. A season you once complained about may later feel tender. A home you once rushed to leave may later feel sacred. A normal afternoon may become unforgettable because someone who was there is no longer part of your life. The moment did not announce its value. Time revealed it. The strange part is that nostalgia does not only make you miss what happened, it makes you miss who you were before you knew what would change. You miss the version of yourself who thought certain people would stay, certain places would remain, certain routines would repeat, and certain feelings would always be available. You miss your innocence inside that normal life. Nostalgia hurts because it exposes how blind familiarity can make you. While you are living something, you may treat it as background. After it is gone, your memory lifts it into meaning. Normal was never empty. It was life before distance, loss, growth, or time showed you its value. Nostalgia is the heart looking backward and realizing that ordinary moments were quietly carrying forever, even while you called them ordinary. Home is a feeling attached to patterns. Home is not only a place, it is a feeling your mind attaches to repeated patterns. The same smell in the kitchen, the same sound at the gate, the same chair in the corner, the same voice calling your name, the same route back, the same evening light, the same small routines can slowly become emotional proof that you belong somewhere. This is what makes home so powerful. It is built through repetition until the nervous system begins to recognize certain patterns as safety. A room becomes more than walls because your body remembers resting there. A person becomes home because their presence feels familiar enough to relax around. A street becomes home because your feet have walked it through different seasons of your life. The strange part is that home can disappear even when the place remains. If the people change, the energy changes, the routine breaks, or pain enters the space, the same house can begin to feel foreign. The walls are still there, but the pattern that made your body feel safe has been interrupted. What you miss may not be the building itself, but the emotional rhythm that once lived inside it. This is why people can feel homesick for a person, a season, a childhood, a routine, or a version of themselves. Home is not always where you sleep. Sometimes it is where your nervous system stopped guarding itself. Home is a feeling attached to patterns because the heart learns safety through repetition. When those patterns are present, life feels held. When they vanish, even familiar places can feel empty, because home was never just the place. It was the feeling the place repeatedly gave you. Smell can unlock forgotten seasons. Smell can pull you back into a season of your life before your mind has time to prepare. One familiar scent can open a door you did not know was still there. A perfume, soap, rain, old book, hospital hallway, cooked meal, classroom, dusty room, fresh clothes, smoke, flowers, or someone's skin can suddenly make the past feel close again. This is what makes smell so powerful. It does not always ask permission from logic. It moves straight into memory and emotion. You may be standing in the present, surrounded by today's life, but one scent can make your body remember another time. Suddenly, you are younger. You are in another room. You are near someone again. You are back inside a version of life that no longer exists. The strange part is that smell often remembers what the mind forgot. You may not remember every detail of a season, but your body remembers how it felt. The comfort of a childhood kitchen, the fear of a hospital visit, the warmth of someone you loved, the sadness of a room after loss, the excitement of a place where your life once felt open. A scent can bring back emotions without explaining them. You may feel happy, heavy, safe, lonely, or unsettled before you understand why. The smell touched a hidden memory before words could reach it. Smell proves that the past is not always gone in the way you think. Some seasons remain stored quietly in the body, waiting for one familiar scent to bring them back alive.